Hello everybody and welcome back to the snooker action. This time it's Shaun Murphy against John Higgins. What a quarterfinal we've got on our hands. After, of course, a very exciting battle between Mark Selby and Zhao Xington going the distance there. And the Chinese world champion managed to take that one in a very exciting decider, taking his first ever win in his career against Mark Selby in a ranking event. Well, right now we've got the class of 92 versus the man in form right now, winning the British Open, getting to the final of the Xi'an Grand Prix, and now threatening to have the third semi-final appearance this season there, by far the most that anyone has had on this season's WST Tour. Murphy comes into this match as a slight favourite there after, all of his success and just being the man in form, beating probably tougher opposition going into this match with the likes of Ding Junhui, Elias Lesser, and of course, a very exciting decider there in the qualifying match up against the 14-year-old Chinese sensation wildcard that got Murphy into this quarter-final clash with John Higgins. Had to overcome a decider himself there yesterday. Of course, comes into this match as a higher world ranking number. It is number 6 against number 9 there, with Higgins certainly smiling as he makes his way on towards the arena now. Let's see which one of these players is going to smile after this quarter-final finish. Of course, we're going to have to see which player either of those two will have to face in the semi-final there. It will either be Zach Doherty or Stephen Maguire. Probably wouldn't have expected to see either one of them in the semi-final spot. But anyway, it's certainly going to be one of these players is going to be the massive favourite for the final going into that clash. But who's he going to be there? As Murphy starts off with a break-off. Certainly has been a lot of discussion points so far today after, Mark Selby's break-off got him a very, very huge trouble there in frame number 6 against Zhao Xington. Of course, Zhao has managed to clear up from the position that, Selby has left him with after his break-off. Now, Murphy seems to go off to a better start now. So just having a look to see if Higgins can get through to this red and try and put it in towards the right corner. Having a little look to see maybe he's going to get it on the left-hand side of it and just play it in towards the main bunch of reds, but has to be careful with the cue ball, not to send it too close to the jaws of the pocket, and played it nicely. Of course, still think the match is going to be played in a sort of controlled manner, but a very aggressive one from Shaun Murphy's point of view, especially if you look at the performance that he managed to put up against the reigning champion here. Of course, was knocked out there with Ding Junhui by 6 frames to 2 there. They had no answer for the majority of those frames, with Shaun winning majority of the safety battles and still managing to overcome all those struggles with the break building opportunities. But now, just as I say that, he's been having a lot of good stuff there with the sort of safety shots there. He's now going to have to try and go for the red in towards the right corner there, Higgins, because that's been left out by Murphy. Grass on 1 million. Oh, really? I didn't even realise that. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Feel free to subscribe there. We're getting on 4,000 there of subscribers. But right now, it's a really nice shot there for Higgins as a chance now to get himself started with this break. And roll the red in towards the right corner there. Get the cue ball with a little bit of a stun shot. And get himself lined up with a perfect chance there. As he certainly will have a nice little angle there on the black. So now all focus is going to have to be on him trying to make this position work for him. As I say, the blueprint of Ding's match is there for Higgins. He's managed to win 2 frames against Scott Donaldson earlier on there, which was the last 16 match that actually got him into the quarterfinal. But then lost 4 on the bounce, put him into a very difficult position there. Managed to level it back to 4-all. Donaldson took another frame there to force Higgins needing 2 of the last frames, which the Wizard of Wishaw certainly has managed to produce at that time. And now has got an early plan here to try and take on. Got a little bit of a distance there in between the 2 reds. And also, of course, if you go back to the Scott Donaldson match, he had an early chance of 147 there, which I have to say, with him being 70 points clear or so, I was very surprised with him actually playing for the blue on purpose. So clearly trying to get the frame one, but as I say, I know he was for the quarter-final spot, but still was very much surprised there with him. And in the end, he ended the break on 110 points. So it could have been a potential 145. And he not missed the red, which would have been the last one of the 15. Right now, gets himself into a nice little position with the cue ball to try and send the red towards the right corner and get himself lined up onto the black there. So have 3 reds, 3 blacks there. Early good chance here for Higgins. Once again, won't really say that he's been too clinical with their split positions there of either blue or black, so has to try and navigate his way through those reds for now. Gets himself lined up on the one along the black ball cushion. Looks to be very straight on it though, so maybe he'll just have to try and force the cue ball through the red this time around and get himself lined up for the black in towards the right corner. So play the shot with a little bit of topspin or the backspin there, where he wants it to play. And in the end, he's gone for a backspin shot, but I don't think he's played it as well as he could have, because the cue ball is going to be marginally below the black, which makes the cut more difficult, but also just makes the angle to get him onto the bunch of reds a bit tighter there as well. Has to make sure he gets himself at least on one of those reds, and in the end, I think he'll take that. You know, he's played the shot pretty well, got himself into a red in towards the right middle. So, you know, got a little bit of cue action extra on top of the one that was the main one, trying to send the cue ball in towards the reds, and once he cannoned into the main 2 of them, still had a little bit of traction left, just to accelerate off into the right hand side of the table and get himself lined up on that shot in towards the middle. Of course, can't play for the black here to keep him on for a maximum break, but as I say, don't think it's going to happen right now. But his main focus is going to try and be off to a good start now against Murphy, and rolls the red nicely. So once again, they're playing for the blue, taking the right shot there. It doesn't matter that he's landing the wrong side of the blue this time around, because he's going to have a red available onto the top part of the table. And, well, he's closing in now on that sort of points advantage that are going to make Shaun Murphy very much worried there, in terms of the fact if he actually is going to come back into this frame. And Higgins with another beautiful shot there. I mean, the cue ball could not have landed any nicer there for him, for that red on towards the left corner. You know, accelerating that one off the ball cushion with all the power in the world. Now can try and do a similar sort of thing here, and either try and stun the cue ball to make it leave the white for the pink there, or get himself lined up for the blue. Yeah, and he's left both of these options available to himself, as he's gone for the blue, which, you know, minor angle, which is going to send the cue ball on towards the bulk part of the table, which is still fine, as I say. One more red available there for him. And I'm going against the grain on this one, but I think Higgins is going to win. Yeah, I haven't actually said my score prediction on this one, like 6-4-ish. Yeah, it's a good one, because, you know, the thing about these sort of matches, I actually certainly didn't think that Zhao against Mark Selby was going to finish in the decider. But, you know, I just thought it was going to be either Selby trying to shut Xington down, or it was going to be Zhao trying to run away with it. In the end, he was actually playing catch-up for the majority of the match. Was 4-2 down, had to win 3 frames on the bounce. In the end, Selby managed to recover at least one of them to set himself up with a decider. So, I mean, if you go off that and you just go with the way this has been played, I will say this though, I am very disappointed, and was very disappointed with the way Murphy has played that final against Williams. So I'm just going to bear that in mind. You know, that absolute demolition job is still possible there to him. And, you know, of course, that happened against one of the people of class of 92. So if I'm going to go for a win, I'm probably going to go for a 6-3 win. But I'm just trying to think who's actually going to be there. Yeah, we'll probably go for Murphy, just because, as I say, from what I've seen from Higgins' point of view against Donaldson, I was very much not impressed with that. He was making way too many errors. He was leaving way too many chances there for Scott. And in the end, it was a good decider there for him. It was a very, very important break there that he managed to make. Basically winning the decider in a single visit to the table. As he rolls the red now after a lengthy wait there in towards the yellow pocket. So goes for the green now to accelerate the cue ball towards the lower part of the table. Yeah, so I'll go for the 6-3 win for Murphy. So clearly not biased by the fact that Higgins has got himself a nice little cushion here, 48 points plus. Now gets himself onto a red there, which he cannoned previously on towards the right corner. And as I say, I think the thing about Higgins is going to be, can he keep that consistency with him, and can he sort of avoid losing all sorts of momentum there? Because as far as I'm aware, he's yet to reach the second semi-final appearance after the British Open, where he lost out to Anthony McGill there. I think he was in the quarter-final of Wuhan Open as well. But apart from that, doesn't really strike me as a player that made too many high stages of the tournament so far this year. But of course, tell me a player that has. We're going to have Wu Yize, potentially, if it's going to be John Higgins. So definitely the player that is going to be challenging for the final spot. Of course, Wu Yize is going to play against Zhao Xingtong, so one of the players is actually going to make it the first final of the season. And once again there, apart from Shaun Murphy, we're yet to see the player that made it into a ranking event final. Or, if you want to count Shanghai Masters into it. Title final this season on the WST Tour. So it certainly is going to be either Wu Yize or Zhao Xingtong. But the question is, which one of the Chinese players is going to actually make it? I think I'm right in saying that it is going to be spread. So the semi-finals are going to spread in the way that you're going to have one of them played tomorrow and you're going to have the next one played on a Saturday. So I was actually very much interested by the fact that it's going to be first to 9 there, which means you're going to have to play 17 frames there, which means there's no way you're going to be able to squeeze all of them in the single session there. So therefore, we need to spread those out by 2 sessions, and therefore it's easier for the people organising the tournament to just make it spread across 2 days there, which makes sense while we're on Thursday and we're going to have all the semi-finalists known, so that we got first semi-final played on Friday, second one on Saturday, and the final, consisting of 2 sessions, first to 10, is going to be played on Sunday as usual. For now, it's a nice little step there for John Higgins, as he's edges ever closer to claiming the opening frame. Only needs the black now to get him 70 points clear, with only 67 points on the table. Play the cue ball nicely there throughout the majority of the break. And as I say, the position was a bit of a struggle there for him to start with, but he managed to recover well, managed to build on that, and now he's 70 points clear of Shaun Murphy. Tries to pot the red in towards the right corner now to sort of potentially get him started with a century break. I think he's made one yesterday against Scott Donaldson quite early in the match. Of course, it was the opening frame one I was thinking about. I literally said that he made 110 points of a break. That could have been the maximum, of course. Especially with him going 8 reds and 8 blacks there or something. And I think I forgot to mention there that Zach Zuity, another player that is going to feature and is actually playing right now against Stephen Maguire. Massive congratulations to the Essex there, because he's managed to get a 147 there, the second of his career. And of course, second one in China, up against the player that has managed to make it previously on this season, Aaron Hill, as he went on a deciding win there to set up a clash there with Neil Robertson, which he has managed to overcome there and win the match against the Thunder from down under by 6 frames to 3 there. Not going to be a century break though, and it's a break of 77 points to get John Higgins started, and he is now getting himself a frame on the board here. It is Shaun Murphy 0, John Higgins 1, and it's a perfect start realistically, because if you've got Murphy as a marginal favourite, Higgins winning the opening frame is going to be a perfect setup there for him. And just as I mentioned, Zach Zuity, we've got Stephen Maguire and Zach Zuity already battling massively for the first frame. Maguire is currently on the break there of 15 points, but he's currently trailing by 46 of those, with having only 59 on the table. So Zuity has got a nice little cushion there to his name. Let's see if there's going to be enough there for him to try and hold on and get the first frame on the board. Of course, very much compromised there, Robertson, by the fact that he lost out 3 of the opening frames there to Zach Zuity, and was going into the intermission being 3-1 down there. Gone 4-1 down, and of course 5-1 down. Lost himself pretty much the match in the opening 5 or 6 frames there. Left him with a massive mountain to try and win 5 frames on the bounce there, which of course didn't happen there. He managed to win 2 of those, a bit scrappy as well, but never looked like it was actually going to be the player to make it into the quarterfinal stage. Would have, of course, been the highest seeded players left after, the reigning champion, Ding Junhui, has been knocked out, and the world number 1 there, after leading by 4 frames to 0 against Wu Yize, has gone on to lose 6 frames on the bounce. By the way, I mentioned Zhao Xingtong there. Talk about Wu Yize. He's managed to win 12 consecutive frames right now, with apparently, I'm yet to check the stats on that, but apparently he's made 60 plus breaks in every single one of those frames there. So basically, in the last 12 frames, he's managed to score more than 720 points there. I mean, that is extraordinary. I'm not sure if that's the record once again. Saw that on social media. And, of course, the official broadcasting app has confirmed that he's made a 60-plus break every single frame now against Barry Hawkins today. And, well, you know, some people will say that he's disappointed from Judd Trump's point of view. But one thing I will say about Judd Trump's performance yesterday is that if you look at the frames, especially after that interval, with Trump being 4-0 up there, he's barely scored more than 7 points there, which means he had limited options there to his name, because it wasn't like he was throwing options left, right and centre. It was just Weezer getting a chance there, bang, break of 70 points, bang, break of 80 points, and all of a sudden, before you know it, it's 4 frames each. Trump is struggling. You know, I've seen the last 2 frames, and once again there, Weezer just left him with absolutely no chance. Certainly don't think that's going to be the case against Zhao Xingtong tomorrow, because I think it's going to be a bit different from the psychological point of view, but also from the fact that he's going to be first to 9 there, because the first semi-final that we're actually going to have so many frames there being played, as Higgins now gets off to a good start and sends the cue ball once again very much to the top part of the ball cushion. So I want a reaction now from Murphy, and I want the match to try and be sort of repeating their strategy of sort of Lisowski against Hawkins there. Probably not a great example, but certainly Lisowski against O'Sullivan there. Sort of Zhao Xingtong against Mark Selby. Because that way we're just going to go sort of very far into the distance for this match. And then also it's going to be, meaning that the match is going to be having the players separated by barely a frame out there. Murphy now is trying to consider if you should go for the red in towards the right corner, even though the cue ball was very close in towards the ball cushion, and he's tried to play a safety shot, but I don't think he's played as nice as he could have done, and he's left the red on there for Higgins. So worrying signs there from Murphy at the early part of this match. As you know, of course, Murphy or Higgins would really fancy their chances there against either Stephen Maguire or Zach Doherty, because, you know, whichever one of the players is actually going to be there, certainly going to put them as a massive underdog going into the semi-final stage. First of all, of course, with it being such a massive tournament from the sort of frames that you have to win there to get into the final point of view, but also just from the pure inexperience of being in that stage. So Higgins goes for the red and misses that one. So Murphy is going to come back to the table there pretty quickly, and I think he's going to try and attempt the same red there in towards the left corner this time. And after Higgins has missed it into the opposite part of the table there, into the green pocket, and pretty much got nowhere near the bossy angle. And Murphy will certainly get somewhere near this one, but yeah, lands himself on the wrong side of the blue. In fact, he's probably landed just about as bad as he could have been, because he's marginally on the wrong side of the blue, but it's very, very straight there as well. So I'll be very surprised if he takes the blue on. Has to take the yellow or the brown. Therefore makes the shot a bit more difficult. But he's played it nicely there. Cue ball's going to come very close towards the red there and have himself a perfect setup for the shot in towards the right corner. And after Higgins has produced a flawless performance in frame number 1 there, let's see if we're going to get pretty much the same sort of thing from Shaun Murphy. As I say, probably the most consistent player on the tour, Shaun Murphy, this season. You know, he could throw the likes of sort of Selby in there to an extent. He could throw the likes of Williams and Higgins into that equation as well. But for me, it certainly has been the performance of the season and the performer of the season so far by Shaun Murphy's point of view. Has, of course, made 30-plus century breaks already. But this time, underrun for the red slightly. And, of course, got himself a ranking event win already. So, you know, after winning the Masters last year, can he try and take it the next step forward there and maybe win a Triple Crown event this season once again there? You know, the UK Championship is going to be coming up very shortly, and even though Murphy manages to have a nice little shot there of rolling the red in towards the left corner, still going to find himself out of position on the black, and therefore going to struggle to get the cue ball into the next red there. But he's gone for the black, and always looked like it was going to be the wrong shot for him to play. But has he left anything for Higgins? I mean, the black stays out only marginally though, so, you know, certainly could have dropped in. But as I say, I'm not too sure just how many reds are actually available there for Higgins, if any of them. I think he's gonna go for the one in towards the right corner there, so yeah, it could be a costly mistake that from Murphy, because on the previous shot he managed to develop the reds quite nicely. Higgins gone for the shot twice there already, but backed out every single time there. So third time lucky maybe. As I say, those were the shots that he had to make against Scott Donaldson yesterday. Not managed to do them on the majority of the occasions, and only just about rolls the red in. Wobbled in the jaws massively, but in the end, the result is going to be what actually matters here for Higgins. And the result is going to be a very nice position there left to his name. You know, being only 11 points down on his opponent. Trying to get the blue in towards the left middle there, and we'll have a wide, short selection there of reds into the right corner. Of course, once he takes the black out to the left corner pocket, he'll have a couple of reds to go into that corner of the table as well. And of course, another thing from Higgins' point of view that you have to mention is going to be the fact that, you know, Murphy has only made a break of 12 points so far, and Higgins already had a nice little start there in the opening frame, so certainly he's up to speed. You know, he's got, as I say, he's got 5 of those reds. You know, if you take into account that he's going to take the black out of the game, which is going to get him into around 40 points or so, with the 6 that he already managed to accumulate. And then he'll basically have to try and make his way through the last 6 reds, which so far are forming a nice little pack there underneath the pink spot, which has gone towards the bold colours there. So, I mean, the pink is still possible, I think, in towards the yellow pocket, but don't think Higgins is going to require that one for a little bit of time. Changes his mind once again there, so instead of going for the red in towards the right corner, he's going to go for the one in towards the yellow pocket. Try and stun the cue ball for the shot in towards the green pocket, you will think there, whether he's going to go for the brown or green. And the referee there just indicating to the crowd that, you know, doesn't want to see them distract John Higgins there, but certainly not on this occasion. As it gets himself off to a good start now. And gets himself a position on the green now to get the cue ball down the table. Once again, I mean, a bit surprised by the fact that he hasn't taken the black out of the game, because I don't think it's going to be a massive advantage there at this stage. It looks to be more of a disadvantage there, because it just blocks Higgins of going for those 2 reds in towards the left corner, and therefore just creates a bit of a sort of discomfort there for himself. But let's see if that's going to change right now after this red, as he's got himself lined up once again there for the right corner. This time around has to go for an extension as well. It's not the quickest player, Higgins, but he's certainly one of the most consistent ones on the tour, as I say, alongside Shaun Murphy and Mark Williams, for the simple way of them getting into those semi-finals, and in the way of Murphy and Williams into the final zone as well. You know, it was 1 final there for Williams, and of course 1 win as well. Murphy has got 2 finals and still a single win to his name as well. But this time, as I say, it is finally going to be the black taken out of the pocket. So I think it's going to be more of an advantage there to Higgins at this stage. But him having 3 more reds to navigate his way through. I did predict him to go sort of 40 points clear with them, with those 4. In the end, it looks like, you know, those couple of points that he lost out on the playing the bold colours on the previous occasion, going to leave him marginally sort of disadvantaged there in terms of still having to go really heavily in towards those reds there, because if you're going to have 28 points advantage with 75 points on the table, especially with not having any of those reds safe on towards the cushion, I just think it leaves a chance there for Murphy to try and take advantage of the position and maybe take the game to his control. So now Higgins still has some part of an easy job to try and finish. He's gone 7 points clear now off the break of 19 points. Still, of course, the only 2 breaks that he managed to make so far were the breaks of 77 points in the previous frame and 26 points and counting right now. So we'll have a wide range of 2 reds there, 1 into the left, 1 into the right corner, to get himself a set-up position on the black here. So we'll need the rest with pretty much majority of the extension that he can possibly think of to make his way on towards the cue ball. And as I say, don't think Murphy will be panicking too soon. because he still has a blueprint of the Scottish Derby yesterday of Scott Donaldson against John Higgins. That way, Higgins, of course, won the opening 2 frames, but still going into the 7th frame, trailing by 4 frames to 2 there. So Murphy doesn't have to panic there. He has to focus on his own game. And, the thing about Murphy is if he doesn't miss the black, he probably wins this frame there. And certainly at least has the chance, sort of like the one that Higgins has got to himself right now. So once again there, final adjustments made, and the red will be looking to disappear in towards the left corner after this rest shot from Higgins. So play that one in towards a little bit of the cushion there, so going to run himself a bit tight on the black. But ultimately, the cue ball hasn't gone too far up the table, so still going to be available to put a little bit of topspin there to get himself lined up on the last available red in towards the corner there, before he has to make any adjustments to the main pack of reds there. And Higgins just trying to go for the black in towards the left corner here. And I think he took that shot a bit too soon there. I think it was the wrong shot to play, because what he basically tried to do is not only did he roll the black in, but he thought there was a nice little angle to send the cue ball in towards the main bunch of reds. But in the end, it looks like all of them have gone in the way of each other. And the only real chance that Higgins has got now is going to be a very difficult cut there of a red in towards the right corner. As I said, seen those missed there by Higgins so far in this tournament. Let's see if he's going to be making those ones. Off into the quarter-final stage, he will. Is he going to be on the colour though? Does the pink go past the brown here? Otherwise, he's going to be in trouble here once again there. But it's a beautiful shot there, because the red has gone exactly into the middle of the pocket, which was very difficult there for him to produce with an angle which was very acute there for him at that time. And having the cue ball on towards the cushion didn't help. So maybe actually with his camera angle, you can see that the pink is going to be possible there in towards the green pocket, and therefore he can try and accelerate the cue ball down the table with having a bit of a natural angle there on it. Maybe though he's going to have to go for the green here, so certainly he's a pink or green now. Looks like he is going to go for the green, and compromise himself slightly on the position of the cue ball. Had to avoid the middle jaw, and in the end he's played the shot to an absolute perfection there once again there. So it does look like a carbon copy of the previous frame there, because Higgins looks like he's only going to need one break now and a single visit to the table to be very much producing the performance worthy of the title Wizard of the Wishaw. And the Magician so far looks to have left all of his tricks back in his house. Murphy needs to make sure he doesn't allow Higgins to step into the intermission there with a very comfortable lead there. 3-1 is not necessarily game over there, but it's about as close as you can get there for him. Once again, Higgins just having a look to see if he's going to have this black towards the left corner. And just wanting to see what he's actually going to have now. Was he playing for this red in towards the left middle? Because if he has managed to do it, he's over on the cue ball. Probably is a sign that he's got a red available in towards the left corner though, as he's looking to see if it actually is going to pot, and looks to take it on. And wonderful shot there once again by Higgins. And if the previous frame position wasn't good enough there for him, of an example just how well Higgins manages to take those positions apart there, and this one certainly is going to be, because barring the points scored is actually as close to winning the frame as you're ever going to get there as a professional, no matter the opposition. 59 points on the table, 42 is the gap. But as I say, 3 shots that he's going to play now are probably going to be one of the easiest of his campaign. Roll the red in towards the left corner there. Just try and roll that cue ball through this shot there on the black. Has to make sure that he's not going to be compromised by the red, and he's managed to do that. I think he'll ask the referee to clean the white simply for the reason of probably unhappy with the way he's played this shot there. Going to be potentially straight on the black here, but as I say, with the way those 3 reds are set up, just go for the little bit of backspin and land in behind one of them in towards the right corner. But with him trying to apply the top spin, you would think that he's got some sort of angle now to try and accelerate the cue ball on towards the pink spot there and play the shot fantastically well once again there. So a frame ball to get Shaun Murphy into serious trouble there, because 2-0 against John Higgins. As I say, it's not going to be game over just yet, but if he takes it into a 3-0, it might just be curtains there for the Magician at this stage, because it's been a while since I've seen a 3-frame overturn there against John Higgins. Maybe the famous final there you can talk about with Ronnie O'Sullivan there at the World Grand Prix a couple of seasons ago. But I think even Shaun Murphy will admit that he's no Ronnie O'Sullivan there. And also, this is not the final where you're going to have first to 10 frames or something. This is first to 6, and if Higgins takes the next frame, he's going to be halfway there already. Right now, gets himself into the black here, in towards the left corner. Play the shot through the cue ball. Get himself lined up for the red. In towards the right corner. Play the shot and play the break absolutely perfectly there. You know, he's going to take it 1 point further than what he's managed in the previous frame. It's the break of 77 points in the opening frame. It's going to be improved there by at least 2 points now with him taking the last red. So very much expect to see a century here from the Wizard. It's one of those little weird things there. We've got the Wizard against the Magician. And so far, it is actually the Wizard that is doing all the magic, you could say. As he's got a 6 colour clearance there ahead of him. And, I mean, yeah, the referee there was certainly, testing the nerves of John Higgins, because Higgins was ready to play the shot on the yellow before the referee has even got the pink out of the pocket there. I was a bit worried that Higgins wasn't aware of that and was going to play the shot anyway. Of course, get him a foul for that. Now to go 99 points clear with this brown and blue. And of course, a break of 112 points is going to be available now if Higgins makes a total clearance, which is going to be a remarkable campaign there. 188 points in the opening 2 frames against only 12 there, produced by Shaun Murphy. And immaculate Higgins so far. As I said, we've seen a brilliant performance there of Weeze against not Shaun Murphy, against Barry Hawkins there. But could we see the repetition of that now with John Higgins against Shaun Murphy now? Because it's only the black for a total clearance of 112 points. And what a beautiful break this was. Higgins certainly is on top of his game now, and Murphy has to find all the answers now if he is to try and challenge for once again a semi-final spot in this season. It does look like it is going to be a challenge there. And by the way, Zach Dewis, he's managed to get himself off into a great start there against Stephen Maguire, as he now leads the man from Scotland by 1 frame to 0. And they're currently battling away for the second frame there. Maguire is 16 points clear, but it's actually Zach Dewis that is currently at the table. And he's on a minor break himself. So, very much looking forward to see how the other match will go. And of course, we already know the first semi-final there. It is going to be the Old Chinese Derby. And we yet to find out if it's going to be the Old Scottish Derby, or is it going to be the British Derby, or is it even going to be, well, it has to be a British Derby, or maybe it's going to be an English Derby there with Zach Tuerty and Shaun Murphy overcoming the opposition of Stephen Maguire and John Higgins there. Of course, we've had Anthony McGill there as the Scotsman in the 4th round, and of course was eliminated there by Mark Selby. Same for Scott Donaldson. So, 4 Scottish players there in the 4th round of the International Championship. Certainly must be a great result there from Scotland's point of view. Not so much though in terms of great performances from the top highest seed there. We've had Ronnie O'Sullivan eliminated there in the last 32. Judd Trump managed to take it into the last 16 there. Karen Wilson was eliminated in the last 32 as well. Mark Williams was withdrawn from the health condition there. Neil Robertson was knocked out yesterday alongside Judd Trump in the last 16. So now we've got, of course, Ding Zhuyi, Mark Allen knocked out, one of them in the last 16 match either, and of course Mark Allen was knocked out in the early qualifier match there. So we're going to have Murphy, Selby and Zhao Xington as their highest ranking players, on top of John Higgins, of course, being the highest ranking seed left out in the tournament, the world number 6. And all eyes are going to be on him now, because Murphy has to try and find some sort of answer here. But before he manages to do it, you could have Higgins trying to run away with it there. And you never know, produce a wonderful performance of his own. As I say, if he gets himself into a 3-0 lead, it could just about be too much there for Murphy to try and do. As I say, that was a struggle there for Neil Robertson, because even though he was a massive favourite there in that match, with him going 3-0 down, right now it is going to be a bit of a difficulty there for him. And the referee there just reminding Shaun that he mustn't sleep now. I think she was looking at him for a while there, certainly giving him a little bit of a sign that he has to take the break-off shot now. And certainly after a minor delay there, let's get us underway for frame number 3. And it's Shaun Murphy to do it. Nice little trajectory of the cue ball. So once again there, certainly hasn't struggled in terms of the break-off chances there for himself. And right now Higgins has to try and do something about the positional play. Maybe send the Reds in towards the main pack of them to basically give a second break-off there for Murphy. Because apart from one of those Reds being quite remote there from the pack, 14 others are going to be very much close to each other there. So, yeah, a bit of a... It's a good safety there from Higgins, but it's going to be a bit of a bad shot there in favour of both of the players there in terms of, you know, he got the black into a very scrappy position there. Pink is still not going to be in available play either. Therefore, he just makes the first chance for whoever gets it a lot more complicated than it could have been. So once again, of course, we haven't got a Chinese player playing on either of the quarterfinals, but we do have 2 of them in the first semi-finals to go tomorrow. Earlier on in the morning, once again there, beautiful shot there from Murphy on the safety play. And Higgins is to try and do a similar sort of thing there to get the cue ball down the table. But I think that limit and the problem for Higgins is going to be the fact that he has to deal with it from the left-hand side of the table, which makes the cue ball path to actually travel very much limited there in terms of his options. But that could be a chance there for him to free up the pink if he wants to cannon the red in towards the second expensive colour on the table. And it's a little different type of a shot there to the one that I expected him to play. And in the end, it looks like he is going to have a chance available there for Shaun Murphy. Let's see if he's going to be able to get through to this red, because if he does, certainly he's going to take it on there, because it's going to be one of the better chances that he's had in the opening 2 frames. He's gone for it, and he's got it. Brilliant long shot. Is he going to be on the colour, though? Needs a little bit of luck. Doesn't seem like he's going to get it, though. Worst possible position that he could have actually found himself in. Exactly on the baulk line. Only having green there as a potential shot there. Don't think the yellow's going to go in towards the green pocket there, so maybe just going to have a look to see if he's going to snooker John Higgins. But he's looking at the yellow. As I say, I can't really see him getting past the brown, so maybe it is going to be a shot for safety play. But he has passed the brown there, so, you know, going to blame myself and a little bit of the camera there, because he could have shown us a better angle than that. Once again, didn't see that one, but of course Murphy had a brilliant view to see that the yellow was possible in towards the green pocket. Now he gets himself down the table, and with a great chance, just like it was in the previous frame. Of course, now the position is a lot more open there to him, and he can try and take advantage of it this time around to finally get himself a frame on the board to try and respond to that ultimate start there by John Higgins and the breaks of 77 and 112 points. You know, can Murphy take it one step higher, and one step further, I should say, because remember, he is arguably the most scoring player in these seasons of snooker, with him having 30 plus centuries on the board, the only player to do that at such stage of the season. And of course that race to 100 centuries on the season is very much on there for the likes of Shaun Murphy, Jock Job, Gary Wilson, Jowsington and Ronnie O'Sullivan, and those players being one of the main ones that are actually trying to challenge and be the front runners there for the 100 centuries scored. Right now Murphy gets himself lined up for the red in towards the right corner. Just make sure that it's actually going to be possible there for him, just because of maybe one more red there being in the way of the shot that he was attempting there, and he's gone probably as close as he could have done, but in the end it's a perfect outcome. The red drops in, the position on the black is there for him, and still having 2, maybe 3 reds available to his name, and decelerates the cue ball and plays the backspin shot very nicely. Gets himself lined up in a straight line there for the red. And you can see he was close, but you have to say probably was controlled there by Murphy. Wasn't quite as close as I actually thought he was provisionally. But of course it is the highest break of Shaun Murphy's encounter now against John Higgins. The break of 24 points and counting. So now he gets himself on the blocking towards the left corner. So maybe just going to force the cue ball to play for the red along the black ball cushion in towards the right corner there for himself. And just looking to try and accelerate the cue ball here through this red. And play that one onto the black once again here. But yeah, he's going to run the run quite massively there for the black though. So maybe he's going to try and send the cue ball in towards the reds here. And he's going to take it as a chance. I mean, he has, and he's played the shot really, really well there. Probably unlucky not to get anything better than the red that he's going to be. Looks like he's actually going to be his only chance there towards the left middle. But of course, he'll still be able to pot it. Maybe actually, if you think about it, he's going to have a red in towards the left corner as well. So let's see which one of those two Murphy's actually going to take on. Of course, both of them are possible. But it's all about getting the nice little colour position and just making sure that that opportunity of missing a red is not going to be there for you. Play the shot nicely, and I mean, it's going to be even nicer there for him if the blue is spottable towards the right middle, because I think there's one of the reds that's gone in its path there. So yeah, there's your confirmation. Murphy has to go for the green and take that red out of the blue ball zone. Played these breaks so far very nicely indeed there, Murphy. Gets himself a 43 points advantage. Has got two reds quite close to the left and right hand side cushions. So, those are going to be a minor little thing there for him to, have his mind a little bit more relaxed there to make sure that if Higgins comes back to the table, he ain't going to have it that easy there. But of course, the wait for you to finish this frame is going to try and do it in a single visit to the table and make, you never know, another century break. Right now, he's not too far away from making this one onto the frame ball finish line there for this frame. The black to go 51 points clear there. So, two more reds after this black, and he's certainly going to be away into the third frame win there. So, it is going to be a 2-1 advantage to Higgins if that is going to be the case. Which, of course, as I say, is going to be very different there to being 3-0 down. Just ask Ronnie O'Sullivan there, who has been 2-0 down to Jack Lizalski. No, he hasn't. He wasn't 2-0 down to Jack Lizalski. He was 5-3 down to Jack Lizalski, but he was 2-0 down to Sanderson Lam and Alan Taylor. And, he's managed to win both of these matches. And in the end, the likes of Scott Donaldson managed to overturn that gap, as I say, into a 4-2 advantage to himself there against John Higgins. And, when you talk about 3-0 advantage, just like it was of the sort of Zaptuity against Neil Robertson, it's just going to be a nice little boost there for Murphy. So gets himself lined up on the pink in towards the left middle. And wow, what a miss that is. I mean, certainly didn't see that one coming. I mean, it was a straightforward pink to just rolling towards the middle pocket. But in the end, it could have all the consequences in the world there for Murphy. Because, I mean, Higgins comes back to the table having 4 reds in a really nice play there for him. And as I said previously, 2 reds are going to be quite close in towards the sort of left and right hand cushion of the table. All Murphy had to do was put himself 2 more reds there. And in the end, he didn't manage to do it. And crumbles on the pink there. So, I mean, Higgins certainly has got more than enough points there on the table for him. So it's all about just trying to get those 2 easy reds out of the way. Then splitting the little pack of 2 reds there quite close to each other. Right underneath the pink spot. And after that, trying to navigate his way through those 2 reds that I mentioned. One of them is going to be quite close to the left corner pocket. The other one is going to be located by the bog line in towards the green pocket instead. So now the first red shot is going to be very important there for Higgins. And he's missed it. Didn't expect to see that one coming. As I say, it was very important, but I was more worried about the fact that he's going to run himself out of position on the black there. Certainly didn't seem miss that shot. I don't think Murphy did either. And right now, it is going to be Murphy to come back to the table. Now, of course, the same red that Higgins has missed is not going to be available there for Murphy, but I still think he's going to have a nice little range of reds in towards the left middle. And he makes the first one really nicely there. So a second chance there And certainly a lifeline there for Murphy to try and hold on to. Not going to be a century there, but of course Murphy will care about that one absolutely and have absolutely none of that in terms of him caring for the century break when he's 2-0 down and he's been threatening to go 3-0 down. Now only needs one more red there to get himself on the score sheet there in terms of the frames won, and he is going to go 61 points clear with 51 on the table. So, you know, Higgins had his chance, didn't manage to take it, and in the end, Murphy, from the second time of asking, he's going to get himself a frame on the board now. So ultimately, not going to have to go into the intermission with a sort of Wuiza or, well, Wuiza against John there, or Wuiza against Barry Hawkins there, 4-0 the scoreline. Of course, the Chinese player has been on the receiving and on the sending side of things in the two of those matches, and looks like Murphy is going to run himself out of position though. So maybe go for a little double here. Try and roll the red in towards the left corner. But the break off 53 and 23 points. Looks like it is going to be enough. Is he going to roll the red? Just about going to miss it though. So no chance for Higgins to come back to the table. And it is going to be a frame to Shaun Murphy, who gets himself on the score sheet now. It is Shaun Murphy 1, John Higgins 2. All to play for. And once again there, very important frame now for both John Higgins and Shaun Murphy, because it's either going to be a 2-all draw going into the intermission, or Higgins is going to lead there by 3 frames to 1. By the way, talk about leading. Stephen Maguire has managed to take the lead away there from Zach Zuerti, and is now 1 frame each. Maguire is currently 19 points clear of Zuerti in the current frame, and looking to try and make things steady there for himself. Try and accelerate him into the advantage there, which is going to get him a guarantee there of a draw in the first mini session, and also could try and battle for the 4th frame to make sure he's got advantage going into that intermission session there. Same has to be said about John Higgins there. He's still going to be a minor favourite there with him having that 1 frame advantage, but ultimately it's not quite less having a 2-0 there to his name. And you know, that scoreline of Scott Donaldson there will be playing slightly on his mind, you would think, and this has to try and put that past him, and has to make sure that he's going to be one step further from any sort of real chance there of John Higgins taking this match away from him, from Shaun Murphy's point of view. And of course, Higgins has to think pretty much the same there about Murphy. I don't think there's going to be an underestimating sort of factor there in between any of them. I certainly think they've got great respect there for each other. But ultimately, it all comes down to who's going to play the better snooker. So far, probably has been a deserved 3 frame wins there. 2 for Higgins, 1 for Murphy, and probably does look like the right scoreline. Higgins had his chance to go 3-0 up there after Murphy's mistake in towards the left middle. Didn't manage to take the red in towards the left corner, and on the previous 2 frames, you can think about Murphy missing that black in towards the left corner, or Higgins' brilliant break of 77 points to get himself match started. And now we just wait for the referee to come back onto the arena and put the cue ball for John Higgins, of course, this time around, to have a break-off shot and get himself started on frame number 4. So Higgins just having a look to see if he's going to go for maybe some of those chances that you've seen him sort of turn down in that previous frame after an early safety battle. See if he's going to go for those now. You know, the couple of long shots that he's refused. There was a little miss there in towards the green pocket, which left Murphy in with a chance, but ultimately wasn't able to take it that time. Now Higgins to have a break-off shot there of his own. Send the cue ball on towards the top part of the table. Doesn't want to show any easy reds there to Murphy. And if he does, he wants to make sure that the cue ball is going to be close to the black ball cushion. The ball cushion, I should say, sorry. And he hasn't managed to fit any of those criteria realistically, because he's got a red available there for Murphy. And the cue ball is quite far away from the ball cushion. I think it's actually closer to the top part of the D there. So the chance is there for Murphy. With the way the opening 3 frames have gone, I certainly would expect him to go for it. Let's see if he is actually going to make it stick. And looks good. And what a beautiful shot that was. A bit underrun there for the black though. So once again, beautiful shot there from Murphy. But just has to try and make sure that he's going to be able to pounce on this get the black in, accelerate the cue ball with all the power in the world into those reds, but has to make sure that he catches the one that is further away from the cue ball right now, because that's going to give him an availability there for the red in towards the left corner, but he's made an absolute mess of that. He's missed the black, and yeah, he's left the red on there for Higgins in towards the left middle. I think he's missed the black by an absolute mile there as well. Well, not a mile, but he's still missed it by a long margin there, which is why the black has gone very close towards the yellow spot there. Higgins now can take this red in towards the middle. As I say, it's not ideal because the way Murphy has gone into those reds was compromised by the fact that he's missed the red, of course. And maybe Higgins will actually turn down this chance and go for a safety shot himself. And he certainly will do that. Try and send the cue ball on towards the bulk area. And has that red in a dangerous position there, which is going to be a nice little factor there for him, because he's managed to get the brown and pink in between the cue ball, and the majority of those reds have the green to cover up the left-hand side of the table as well. Still think that Murphy's going to be able to find a way on towards one of those reds onto the lower part of the table, but in the end, probably is going to be a struggle for him to get any further than that. And just try and send the cue ball quite far up the table there and get it lined up maybe in behind the brown. Decent effort, but you know, he's managed to spread the reds quite nicely there for Higgins. And yeah, he's just, you know, you think about the long shot that Higgins has got available now to his name, but which colour is he going to have to play for? Because you've got, apart from the blue, you've got all of those 5 colours very close onto towards the bulk line or further down the bulk cushion. So, you know, if he plays it for the blue, he's going to have all sorts of reds available there for Murphy. So has to try and make the cue ball still get back towards the bulk cushion and have a couple of those options there to his name. Not going to have that as a luxury though to his name, and ooh, very lucky there I would say, because nearly potted the cue ball in towards the right middle, having missed the red. You know, caught it just enough of the cushion there to make sure that it wasn't the jaw that he actually caught, and in the end looks like a really decent safety there played by Higgins, but of course he was very marginally away from touching the red on the left hand side, which would have left Murphy something that he wouldn't turn down there as an opportunity. But in the end, it's a wonderful long shot once again there by Murphy. Is he going to have a little bit of luck this time around? Maybe, a bit more than last time. Because the pink is going to be playable there along the cushion. And also, I mean, yeah, one thing though I will say, how is he going to get the cue ball onto the lower part of the table there with it being so much distance there for the white to try and cover? Probably has to go for playing the cue ball in behind the pink. And yeah, that's exactly the shot that he's gone for. So 2 points scored there, 2 reds potted by Murphy. In the end, didn't manage to get himself into anything after those 2 reds. And Higgins got himself into a little bit of trouble now, which you probably could see him giving away a few points. But ultimately, he just has to make sure that it's not going to be the position that he gives away to Murphy. Because if he manages to take 2 reds there from a difficult position, you can only imagine what he's going to be able to do after the previous break of 52 in frame number 3 there. So he's going to be dangerous, and you know, Higgins has to be wary about that. The first shot is not going to be good enough there. So 4 points given away there to Murphy, and certainly think that he'll ask Higgins to have a second go at it. Just because, you know, he's had a similar position there that Higgins has turned down after the miss of the black there from Murphy in towards the left middle. Of course, it would have been the same red there for him. And ultimately, I just think that, yes, the referee just tries to re-establish the position of the cue ball. I just think that, you know, Murphy would like to see the cue ball a bit further away from the cushion there to maybe have a red available in towards the right corner. Or you never know, if he's going to have an appropriate angle, maybe the red in towards the left middle. Just a bit further up the table there from the cue ball's point of view. There's now attempt number 2 is coming up there from Higgins. And, well, the line pretty much stay the same there. But the power has improved there. And it's a nice shot there for him. And just how nice it is going to be dictated by the fact if Murphy's going to take the red in towards the right corner there, or he's going to refuse one. He's got a couple of those chances there to himself, and also has got a shot in towards the left middle to try and go for. Ultimately, you know, any of them is going to be potable, but I think marginally the one towards the right corner is going to be an easier pot there for him, but he's going to limit the position of the cue ball a bit more. But in the end, he's played the shot really nicely there. So this time, once again there, gets himself lined up on the pink. You know, Higgins has to make sure he caught the red from underneath it, not from behind and from the left-hand side of the table, because that left enough room there for Shaun Murphy to actually see the red, try and pot it in towards the right corner, and therefore, you know, Higgins was punished for sort of his inaccuracy there on trying to escape from a snooker. Now, is he going to be punished to full extent now? Because Murphy, I mean, I'm not too sure which shot he's gone for. Yeah, not sure at all which shot he's gone for, because, you know, he's sort of tried to land the cue ball onto one of those reds into the left corner, but in the end, he's got all sorts of reds now in the way of the cue ball now, and yeah, probably just a safety shot to play. Realistically, the only real chance that he can go for is going to be the red in towards left middle, but the cut on it is pretty much impossible there, and also it's going to cannon the cue ball in towards the pack of reds there. The pink has gone on the black spot after Murphy has spotted it in towards the green pocket. So probably just a safety shot here to play and send the cue ball on towards the top part of the table. Maybe try and get it in behind that yellow and brown bunch of colours there. It's going to have the black and green very much close to those as well. So maybe 2, maybe 3 cushion escape there to try and get the cue ball into that position. Decent effort there, and really nice effort there from Shaun Murphy, and probably the best shot that is actually, you know, was available there to him at that time. Right now, Higgins is going to try and find a gap there to try and squeeze the cue ball in between the brown and yellow, but if he does that, he still has to make sure that he's going to be able to get the cue ball onto the top part of the area, which means he's going to catch those reds very thin on the edge there, which doesn't seem to be the case, with him only having a minor window there to try and send the cue ball down on the table. So looking to play that shot cushion first there. We all know what happened the first time he's tried to play it. There was a chance given away to Murphy, which ultimately Shaun wasn't able to take full advantage of. But as I say, Higgins has to be careful. You know, he's already lost one of the frames of the advantage that he had to his name. He doesn't want to do the same thing now. Gets nowhere near getting onto this red there. Judging the power way too low at that time. And going to have the cue ball put back exactly where it was. And Higgins have attempt number 2 now. Of course, those points that, you know, he's had to his name there, Murphy, 8 of them have came from foul shots there. So, you know, he's going to have to put up the screen there, the referee. And John Heath just asking that as well. So, referee Yu Yang, you're just going to try and bring the screen up to check with the assistant referee where the cue ball is going to have to be placed. Of course, the gap in between the yellow and brown is going to be very marginal there, but also it's very important there for Higgins to be exactly where he was previously, because he's going to have to play the shot off 3 cushions there to try and get in behind the red, which makes, you know, any sort of millimetre of placing the cue ball wrong very much significant there to him. Still think he's probably finds himself in a position where he can still give away those points to Murphy, but, you know, every single time he gives a position away to Murphy, you just feel like, you know, he's already had two wasted chances, and it's very unlikely for the player that Shaun Murphy is to have him third one wasted. But until then, it's still going to be 4 points given away here to Murphy. So 21-0 now. Still, as I say, that number will probably have to go to sort of 40 points for it to be somewhat significant, because even though the points are mounting there for Murphy, they're not reducing from the table, with all 13 reds still be 12 reds, I should say, still being available there for either Higgins or Murphy. And the referee once again there will ask the help of the assistant referee to re-establish the cue ball. And while we have a little bit of delay, let's have a look how Zach Zuerty and Stephen Maguire are actually doing. And Zuerty looks like he's managed to level things up there, with it being 1 frame each there. 49 plays 40 in favour of Zach Zuerty, and it's a battle for the brown right now as Higgins goes for attempt number 3. A lot closer, but still misses it. So tip number 4 coming up there for Higgins' point of view. And Murphy will just sit comfortably in his chair, trying to have those points marked there for him. Because had it been 25 points with, Murphy taking at least 5 or 6 reds out of the game, it would have been a different picture there. But because it's just all coming from foul shots there from Higgins' point of view, as I say, unless it reaches sort of 40 points or more there, I don't think it's going to be a massive difference maker there for him. Higgins has to send the cue ball in towards the same sort of line there, just trying to accelerate the cue ball a bit more there. But that's probably what he didn't want to do. Get the cue ball past the red and very close to actually leaving that shot on there for Murphy. Let's see if he's going to take this one on there. No is the answer, so Murphy was quick to check that. Now 29 points is the advantage in favour of Shaun Murphy. And still 123 on the table. And Murphy so far is still 67% up on the poll there, so 67 plays 33. Even though, of course, Higgins was 2 up there. He's currently 2-1 up, with Murphy having a 29 points advantage. And attempt number 5 from Higgins coming up. Looks decent. Yeah, played it well. Played it really, really well there. That is by far the best snooker escape that we've seen from Higgins in this match. And the turn will finally go back to Murphy. Now, the shot that Higgins has refused previously in this match is now available to Murphy to try and play in towards the left middle. And as I say, I mean, as long as you play it in the way that if the red is going to be missed by the pocket, he's going to catch the backhand jaw there. I just think it's one of those shots that you're not really risking a lot there with sending the cue ball towards the top part of the table anyway. Murphy's having a good look at this one. As I say, he's going to send the cue ball in towards the sort of green pocket there. Therefore, we'll have the green available in towards the yellow pocket to try and play. If the red is going to be dropped in. But, if he misses that shot, it just doesn't give sort of any easy invitation there for Higgins. But Murphy seems to have something else on his mind. Probably just trying to find the perfect line there to try and send the cue ball onto the top part of the table. So for now, just having a quick look to see which red he's actually going to try and play the shot from. And as I say, certainly as I look to take the attacking options into account there. Of course, untouchable would have made the life a lot easier there for him, but Higgins has done well not to judge that pace of the cue ball being too low and leave absolutely no space in between the red and the target ball. Murphy still, I mean, from the time that Murphy's actually taking the shot, you could feel like he's actually found a brilliant opposition there to try and put Higgins into all sorts of trouble there, or he's got himself into a little bit of trouble as well. But just plays the cue ball in towards the sort of ball cushion there. Played the shot nicely in terms of the pace. And we'll have the yellow and the black as the main obstacle there for the cue ball to try and travel. So clearly was just trying to exploit the most out of the position that he finds himself in. And right now, Stephen Maguire managed to take the 3rd frame. So now leads Zach Zuitti by 2 frames to 1 out there. Zuitti has had an early frame gap there, turning his head there, and it's now Maguire trying to be in charge. He was trailing to Jung Jong yesterday by the majority of the frame, by the majority of the match, I should say, and of course was going into the last 3 frames there with a scoreline of being 4 frames down. Managed to overcome that gap and win their match by 6 frames to 4 there to force himself into a potential semi-final encounter if he's going to be victorious against Zach Zuitti today. Nice little shot there by Higgins played. Now he's pushed the red in towards the left corner, but managed to essentially get the brown in the way of the cue ball. So we're going to send the white now to the top part of the table once again there as a 10 from Murphy. But yeah, he's played the shot about as dreadfully as he could have. And as I said, that 29 points advantage ain't going to be there for him if Higgins gets a chance, and he certainly is going to get a chance now. But good news for Higgins is the pink is playable from the black spot into both left and right corner. But the bad news is, it's not going to be easy to get on the pink every single time there with the way the reds are actually positioned there on the table. And also, he's going to need the majority of those reds for him to put this frame to bed there in his favour. Played the shot nicely, but still going to be just straight on the pink. And going to have to breach over the couple of reds here. So It's another chance there for Higgins. He hasn't taken that one in the previous frame for the simple reason of missing the red there in towards the left corner, and Murphy managed to win that frame to a scoreline of sort of 78 points to 0. Let's see if Higgins is going to be able to take these chances there to his name. As I say, the way the Reds are actually positioned there, he's going to have 6 or 7 of those available to be potted, but he just has to be careful that he hasn't got the cue ball alongside those Reds too much there, so that they're going to have sort of other Reds in the way of each other there, or even worse there for him, have at least one of those Reds in the way of the cue ball when he's trying to go for the pink. And he's played the shot in a right fashion there, but straight away there, not going to be perfect on this red. And as I say, he has to be perfect on the majority of those Reds to guarantee himself a nice little position on the pink. And the blue has gone a bit further in towards the top part of the table there, apart from his spot, but still will be able to put that one exactly where he belongs and try and restore at least one more backup option there to his name. For now, looks to steady the ship now with the red being sent in towards the left corner now. Going to try and send the shot of the cue ball off 2 cushions there and cannon the red ball out of the way. Play the shot really nicely there because he basically sold himself to issues in a single shot there. You know, getting the red out of that previous position was very much essential there, but also getting that perfect position on the pink. And all of a sudden, it is certainly John Higgins' frame to lose after a horrible safety shot being played by Murphy. It is now Higgins that is looking to try and run away with it. 15 points down, but ultimately being the one on the table and trying to accelerate away into a 3-1 gap there, going into the intermission of 15 minutes there. You know, we've gone over an hour since the match has started, so, you know, just about ordinary there with the way the opening 3.5 frames have taken us in terms of time. You know, if you take the little breaks in between the frames, of course, into account, you have to make sure that it's been sort of around 15 minutes per frame, if this one was to finish right now, which of course he ain't gonna do it. But right now Higgins has got a nice little red available to him in towards the right corner, so has to get himself lined up for the red into the left corner for quite a few shots now. And now he's going to switch on towards the right corner there for himself. Still, he's going to play the majority of those shots around the pink. And, of course, essentially, you know, the red that is currently taking the pink spot has to try and keep it there for as long as possible to make sure that he's going to have pink to play in and around the black spot for the majority of those points. Just because it's going to be, well, he's going to be more used to playing around the black there, with it just being different colour and 1 point less scored for his name. But also just kind of gave him more control there of the cue ball in terms of him being trying to target the positional play on the pink and onto the reds from the pink. So hammers the red in towards the left middle there and doesn't want to be straight on the pink though, because the cue ball is going to be quite close towards the right hand side of the table. And you know, with the way, if he's going to be straight on this pink, he's going to have to make sure he's played this one with an awful lot of power and get the cue ball on towards the right hand cushion of the table. As I say, it's not an easy one for him to play, and probably going to have to commit for the shot into the middle pocket. It's going to be having a little bit of the angle, which is going to be against him out there, as he goes now 6 points clear of Shaun Murphy. Just having a look to see if he's going to have the blue available there to his name. In towards the right middle to play, and just what sort of angle does he have to take if he wants to have the perfect position on that blue in towards the right corner. If he is to take it from the top part of the table, and I mean, has he gone for the shot in towards the left middle from the red that is actually tighter there? So it just makes sense there why he was checking the blue, because he's certainly going to be playing for the blue, but has to roll the red in. And he certainly is going to roll the red in. Is he going to be straight on the blue, though? I mean, as long as he's not the wrong side of the blue, straight is fine there, because he's just going to have the chance to force the cue ball sort of down the table slightly there, have himself lined up for the red in towards the left corner. And, you know, certainly had a little bit of the angle there to try and send the cue ball down the table. Bleed it off the left-hand side cushion. Gets himself lined up for the red in towards the right corner now. And 12 points is the gap in between Murphy and Higgins here. And he can try and go for the red in towards the left middle here, of course. But as I say, I'm not too sure that's actually going to work out too nicely there for him, because he's going to have to go for the position on the blue once again there. But he seems to commit to it anyway, so he's gone for the red in towards the right corner, which is still going to have in position on the blue. Not going to be too happy with the way he's landed on the blues though. Looks to be very straight once again there, so the breaks of 42, 112 and 77 have all so far been the only ones for Higgins there. So when he scores a point, so far he's gone on to make a 50 plus break every single time there. Let's see if he's going to make it 3 out of 3 here as he goes into a very substantial hunt there for a 3-1 lead to his name going into the second mini session, and has to pretty much do similar sort of thing there once the interval is finished, and try and just wear Shaun Murphy down in the safety battles, which Higgins so far does seem to win the majority of. And therefore, when Murphy makes a mistake, and we've seen those mistakes in every single one of those 4 frames, just has to be able to pounce on them. So far has managed to do that on 2.5 occasions, with closing in on making the 2.5 one into 3. And as I say, still could have been a 4-0 gap there for him had he managed to roll that red in towards the left corner and get himself into a nice little positional hunt. In the previous frame, Murphy was able to get that frame on the board, but ultimately it looks like the challenge of having 2 frames each going into the intermission is just going to be a bit too much there from Murphy for now. And Higgins is looking to make it another 50 plus break to his name. Rolls the red in nicely and gets himself lined up for the blue, which is going to disappear in towards the left middle as well. So now 24 points is the advantage there for him. So Higgins has to make sure that he takes 2 of those reds there. Probably 3 of them as well. I mean, 2 reds with 2 colours, and the sort of penultimate red is going to be the one that is actually going to be frame ball there for Higgins. As I say, he's got 2 of those reds as an option there for him. The one in towards the left middle, one in towards the yellow pocket, and one in towards the left corner there. Each of them have got a little bit of the sort of issues there. Going to be real close. I mean, so far it hasn't really been close, but as I say, it's a similar position and it's a similar situation to what we've seen in Mark Selby against Zhao Xingtong match. Of course, Selby was leading there by 3 frames to 1. And Xingtong managed to overcome that deficit, make it 3-2 there. And from 4-2, he managed to take it into a 5-4 lead there for himself, so winning 3 frames on the bounce. So, as I've been saying there previously, the blueprint is there for Murphy, but he has to make sure he takes it into reality there. But for now, Higgins is still not over and not done with his frame. He has to roll the pink in towards the right corner there to go sort of 31 points clear. But ultimately, I mean, where's he finding a position on the next red there? Because he's going to have the cue ball onto the right-hand side of the table. Yeah, he's going to have himself lined up with it red, which you wouldn't really call too difficult there, but still, you could see this one being missed there by Higgins, and with the way the rest of the reds and the colours are actually positioned there, you can't afford to do that unless your opponent needs snookers, which is not going to be the case just yet there for Murphy. And you can see it just looks like a horrible cut there for Higgins to try and attempt there, with the cue ball being so close to the red as well. Wants to miss the front jaw and catches it slightly, but still going to drop the red in. So it was marginal, but in the end, just about controlled there from Higgins. And now, what a difference that shot makes, because the next red is actually going to be the frame ball there for him. And all of a sudden, Shaun Murphy is going to need snookers. If Higgins, of course, is to suddenly miss the next colour of the red, which, as it stands, is going to be very, very unlikely there at this stage, as he's now 37 points clear. So the red will take it 38 points clear, but only 35 on the table. So frame ball now for John Higgins that he can take into either left corner or right middle. The right middle certainly looks to be more appealing there for him. Line himself up for a blue to make sure that Murphy's not going to come back to the table unless it's going to be the second mini session there. And I mean, he's played the shot in a bit of a weird way, because he's managed to accelerate the cue ball in towards the bulk area, and he's probably going to try and snooker at Murphy now in behind the yellow. So I mean, he's done the task minimum there, which, in that position, as I say, task minimum probably would have been make sure that Murphy's going to need snookers when he comes back to the table. But it's only going to be one at this stage, and even though Murphy's going to face a snooker of his own, if he manages to take the game to his level there and just tries to find a way out of this position. I mean, I thought Higgins was going to play at snooker now, but he's trying to counter the yellow sort of outside of the zone. That was going to be the reaching point there for Murphy. So, I mean, he's still going to be a snooker, and Murphy has to play over the green, so maybe just makes the shot a bit trickier there for him. And you feel like if he is to miss this red, it is certainly going to be a frame over. But what a shot he's played. I mean, talk about you needing a snooker. I mean, I want to see the better camera angle, but potentially he's managed to find one there. What a beauty that is from Shaun Murphy. They call him magician for a reason, because look at that little swerve around the shot, powers the red in, and catches two cushion first. Perfect control on the cue ball as well, and has that one lined up in behind the yellow. What a shot that is, by far the shot of the match. And of course, he can turn into the best shots of the tournament if it turns into the one that actually wins Murphy this frame. You know, Higgins can still try and catch the red in, which is all he's going to need at this stage. But ultimately, Murphy's still alive there in this frame. Higgins has a nice little shot there, catches the red pretty much full ball there, giving the initiative back to Murphy. And not sure if you can try and send the cue ball in towards the ball cushion once again there, just with enough angle to make sure that he's going to have either brown or green there in between the cue ball and the red. But that's certainly going to be something there for him to attempt. And just having a look to see, maybe he can try and go for a little bit of a cross double in terms of sending the blue in towards the right middle pocket. And yeah, that's not going to be an advantage there for Murphy, because he's going to put the brown in towards the ball cushion there. But to be fair, I mean, I wouldn't really be surprised if at this stage he tries to pot the red with the black there and just tries to make sure you're going to get a snooker on the green there. So, you know, I would expect to see a battle for the red right now, because remember, it's only one snooker that Shaun Murphy needs, but it's still going to be a battle for the red now, because John Higgins has just put a brilliant shot there in towards the right corner. Now to go 39 points clear with 27 on the table, and certainly not going to be coming back from there off Shaun Murphy's point of view. Brilliant shot there by Higgins, and certainly going to be the one that takes him into a 3-1 gap going into the second mini session there. Beautiful performance so far by each of the players, and let's see if he's going to get better in the second session from Shaun Murphy. Doesn't really have to get a lot better there from Higgins, as I say, has been very much in control of the match throughout the majority of it. And right now, we are going to have play suspended for 15 minutes. Shaun Murphy still doesn't seem to be too concerned there, but of course he won't be happy with the way the opening session has gone for him. And it is now Shaun Murphy 1, John Higgins 3, going into frame number 5 there. After a little bit of a break of 15 minutes time, the intermission is going to begin, and the action will resume at 6 or 7 minutes past there, or whichever time you're watching. So feel free to tune in, and still plenty of action yet to come for you of the snooker table. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. The intermission is over, and let's see now if Shaun Murphy manages to put up a little bit more of a fight in the second mini session that he has managed to do so in the opening 4 frames up against John Higgins now as he plays a safety shot there. So the break-off was decent, but in the end, you know, neither of the players so far have had any of the chances there on rotation. So it's a nice shot there by Murphy because he puts the cue ball perfectly on towards the ball cushion there. And by the way, in the other quarterfinal, we've got Stephen Maguire winning 3 frames of the bounce there against Zach Zuerty. So Maguire trying to apply some more pressure there of his own as he now tries to accelerate into a 4-1 gap there whilst being on the break. Back to Higgins it goes there, the turn. We have to try and, well, see realistically if Higgins is going to make any more of mistakes earlier on here, and Murphy will be able to sort of do something with those mistakes from his point of view. And I mean, he's played the shot nice there, Higgins. And you know, Murphy has got a little bit of a chance here to try and send the cue ball into a similar sort of zone, try and put the white in towards the sort of ball cushion there, and on top of the yellow spot or something. Now just has a little look to see if that's going to be possible there for him to try and do. And in the end, maybe he'll just go for a little bit of a different short selection, just try and send the red in towards the main pack of reds there, and try and find a perfect way there for the cue ball to get sort of underneath the spine there of the brown, blue, pink and black. So once again, the turn will have to go back to Higgins. Now we look to see that if there's going to be any plants there available there for him in towards the left corner. Of course, we've seen those as a massive weapon previously for Wool User in his battle against Barry Hawkins earlier today, and also in the match of Zhao Xington against Mark Selby, especially if we talk about the Chinese player. He has managed to take a couple of those very important plans there, which ultimately have got him the edge there over Mark Selby, and decent shot there by Higgins, but wants the cue ball to run a bit further there. And in the end, I feel like Murphy will take this chance there. At least there's an opening chance there, because if he's going to go for the red in towards the left corner, it's going to be better there than for him than, of course, not to have any chances at all. So now has a little look, and as I say, he's got 2 reds available there. I think the one into the right corner is easier to pot there, but he's not going to get a positional sense out of it. So let's see what he's going to do here. Certainly he's going for the red in towards the left corner now. Is he going to be able to pot it? Yes, he will. A brilliant shot there. And brilliant position on the black as well. So not going to be any issues for the foreseeable future for now. Because, you know, sort of all of the hard work was made there with that brilliant long shot in towards the left corner. And now Murphy can try and run away with it there to an extent. You know, he's got 8 points there of advantage there over Higgins. And now he's got 14 reds to try and do something with. Right here, right now, sends the cue ball on towards the blue here. So wants to be on the right side of it, and he will, to get the cue ball down the table. And after all the safety battle that they've had, you know, we've got a nice little position here for Murphy, where you've got, you know, maybe 6, maybe more than that, reds available into play after the 2 that he's already sort of managed to pot there. And once again, so having a look to see if it's going to be the red in towards the left corner for Murphy to try and go for, or does he want to go for the one in towards the left middle? He goes for the corner shot and makes it nicely. So just try and, well, I mean, probably has to try and take the reds out of the edges there to make sure that he's going to land himself sort of on the middle reds a bit later on. And I think he was trying to catch the cue ball with a couple of those reds, because, you know, if he's planning to play that way, he's got the cue ball very much close towards the left-hand cushion. And, you know, the red has actually turned into a pretty straight one, so has to hit it well now, Murphy, and certainly has recovered well. Of course, taking that red out of the game, which means he's managed to eliminate a bit more freedom there to have the cue ball sent when he's trying to play the reds into the left corner, and also just, you know, you eliminate more and more reds. It's more and more freedom there for the cue ball to travel, and there's less chance of you actually running yourself out of position there, with 6 colours being pretty much on their spots there, with the pink being the only one slightly out of position. Murphy got himself into a little bit of trouble there, but looks to have got away with it. He had a red available towards the green pocket, but doesn't look like he's going to need that one for now. And still takes a red comfortably in towards the left corner of the table. Gets himself lined up on the top side of the blue once again there. Maybe just a bit too much of the angle there on the cue ball, so you could use the black cushion to try and slow the cue ball a bit more down. And try and have that one lined up for the shot in towards the left middle, and underplayed for it slightly. But as I say, the position is still allows Murphy to be doing those type of marginal misses there, and just be able to get away with it for now. But this is, I mean, if he has to take this red there in towards the left middle, it just makes the shot missable there. The angle is going to be slightly against Murphy, and yeah, he clearly wasn't planning to play it that way, but he still managed to get it, with the cue ball being perfectly on towards the cushion there, which makes me feel like he wasn't intending to pot the red into the front jaw of the pocket, but, you know, managed to make it stick, and takes the blue, and once again there, gets himself out of the dangerous position there, gets himself lined up for the red in towards the right corner once again there. So 42 points clear, and trying to run away with it off into the distance for this frame. So adding to the breaks of 52 and 23 in there, made in the frame number 3, which he managed to take with some comfort there against Higgins, only making one mistake in the progress, which Higgins was unable to pounce on. In the end, it's going to be second break of 50 plus points there for Murphy. We've had 3 of those from Higgins already. So certainly very much a high scoring match from 2 players' point of view. And now Murphy just certainly looking to pick up the scraps now, with all the easy reds being out of the game. But with the way, you know, the position was split up from the safety play on the previous occasion, it's not like he's got, you know, the remaining 7 reds that are actually going to be too much of an issue there for him. Just has to try and limit a couple of those in towards the left corner, free up the ones into the right corner of the table for contrast, and therefore he's going to have both pink and black that are available to his name to try and play every single one of those shots. As they're heading towards the left corner now, we'll just make the pink playable in towards the right hand side, the right middle pocket there, but I mean, he got too close to the red there with the cue ball, so he's going to have to be careful now as he tries to play the black. He's of course still not over the line just yet, 75 points on the table, so he needs a red and a colour after this black to make sure he's going to be away off into the distance, and takes the black nicely, avoids any of the jaws of the pocket there, which was important at that stage, and now to put himself 67 points clear with 67 on the table. Right now it is going to be the frame ball now for Murphy, and a very quick frame there, brilliant reaction as I said, very much a blueprint so far of Zhao against Mark Selby. You know, Shaun Murphy and John Higgins have managed to stick to it so far, and with the way the script has gone in that match, you'll need to have John Higgins to go 4-2 up there, and Murphy winning 3 frames on the bounce to get himself a 5-4 lead. Before players will play an exciting decider there. The underdog will manage to prevail over a high-rated seed. And Murphy once again there getting a very nice cue action here on the majority of those shots. You know, as I say, he's run himself out of position on a couple of those occasions, but ultimately managed to recover from all of them, and now accumulates the second highest break in the match here, 82 points. So we'll go above there of the break of 77 and 67 points there of John Higgins in frames number 1 and 4. Gets himself lined up onto a century break here, very much within a couple of shots there for him. In fact, he's going to need 2 more reds and 2 more colours, as he's looking to go for the one in towards the left middle now. And you know, if he gets himself with a little bit of the angle now on towards the pink, he'll just be able to get the cue ball in behind some of those reds, maybe just try and split them as they are, or maybe just try and keep them that way and have at least one of them lined up in towards the left middle. As, it seems to have gone for the easier option, just getting the perfect cue action there, and certainly he's going to have himself lined up for a century break. And right now it is all looking very, very nicely there for us. And yeah, you can see the red is going to be playable there for him in towards the left middle, and it is a century break there, 103 points and counting. So very much looking forward to see this version of Shaun Murphy for a couple of more occasions here. 104 points now scored, so could go up to around 137 if he makes a total clearance. And rolls the pink in nicely, so 110s, only needs the yellow to make sure he's going to be tied up for the highest break of the match. And then of course putting the green will make sure that he's going to go above Higgins in that perspective. But ultimately still going to be a frame down now. The way for Murphy to try and respond to this is try and win the next frame to at least make sure that we're going to be back to square one there. Of course, the only time that was actually the case there for Murphy was the time that the match hasn't actually started, with it being 0-0. Now the brownie towards the yellow pocket there for Shaun to make sure he's going to be on 119 points. So, as I say, 137 points is the value of a total clearance possible here for Murphy. And as he's approaching to do that, let's have a look how Maguire is doing. And he's now accelerated away into a 3-1 of a lead there. So he's trying to come back at him and try and win the 5th frame, with him currently being on the break. But certainly nothing stopping Shaun Murphy on this current frame now, as he is only 1 shot away from a brilliant total clearance. The white is going to stay out there, and it's a break of 137 points there from Shaun Murphy. The fans certainly enjoyed it, and he would have enjoyed that as well. He's got a wide smile on his face as he returns back to the chair, and now it is Shaun Murphy 2, John Higgins 3, going into frame number 6 out there. All to play for. Very much entering an interesting part here of this match, and Higgins is still going to be a marginal favourite there, with him not even drawing there with Murphy ever since the start of the match. But ultimately, you know, he had a 2-frame gap there on a couple of occasions, and for the second time now, it has been reduced just to a single frame advantage there for John Higgins out there. Now we're just looking to see, you know, he's got 3 50-plus breaks there, John Higgins, 67 points of a break, 77 and 112 there. Higgins hasn't got that much there to offer. He's got, Murphy hasn't got that much to offer. He's got the breaks of 52, and of course he's got the break of 137 there, which he only just managed to produce. So ultimately, on paper, Higgins has played the better match here, but Shaun Murphy has been more scoring there in terms of the points accumulated. I think it's going to be pretty even though, Higgins has got 3 frames, 1 there to his name. Referee there just getting the reds and colours ready for us to go again there into frame number 6. Very much getting into the interesting zone now, because if Higgins is to go 4-2 up there, he'll put Murphy into the biggest struggle there, because it's one thing being 2-0 down, 3-1 down, and if you're going to be 4-2 down, it just allows Higgins to have that 1 extra frame on you and just being closing in there onto the semi-final spot, because it's certainly a very big difference there of you being 2-0 down or 5-3 down when it's a 1st-to-6 match. Just ask Neil Robertson, the fact that he was 5-3 down to Zach Zuity didn't actually give him too much of an advantage there, and he still had to find himself on the receiving end of things. As now Maguire and Zuity are battling away there for the safety play, as we've got one of the couple of reds, which is actually going to be available there for the 2 of them. 17 points in behind Maguire and Zuity, in favour of the higher ranking seed. And Maguire is currently at the table there, so trying to put all the pressure there on Zuity. That has, of course, made it into the ranking event semi-final last season, where he ultimately lost out to John Higgins there. And John managed to take that match away there from Zuity in a very exciting decider there. Managed to come back from being 5-3 down, I think, and win the clash by 6 frames to 5 to set up a clash with Joe O'Connor, which, of course, he still managed to come out on top there. Very strong finish there to the season from John Higgins last year, and he'll be trying to have another strong, well, not necessarily start of the season, but middle part of the season now, as we approach the Triple Crown events. UK Championship is going to be there in less than a month now, and Murphy is going to have to go for the long way around now, because it's another brilliant break there by Higgins, not leaving anything there available to Murphy, and Shaun has to try and send the cue ball down the table, not for the first time, of course. So I'll send the cue ball in towards a couple of those reds, and had to play the shot a bit more careful than that. Now he's going to need the cue ball to pull up in towards the ball cushion, but still, I think if Higgins does manage to get through to this red, he's going to be able to take it as a chance there for him, and therefore, the black is available, the pink has gone outside of its usual covered up spot, and if you take the red, which is very close now towards the left corner, it's going to be a nice little chance there for Higgins. Let's see if he's going to be able to take it though. It's a little bit of a weight there on the shot, and nice line. And is he going to be on the colour though? Going to be as awkward as he can be, because he's going to have to be very close to the blue here. So, anywhere but there, realistically, and he would have been fine there. So, just has to make his way past these blue and just see if he's going to be able to roll this one in towards the green pocket. As I say, playing the pink in towards the left corner is not going to be available now for him, because of the way he has to grab a rest there and try and bridge over the blue. Just makes the shot very limited on the power, which he's going to need a lot of to find himself on the next red. Therefore, probably, safety shot is going to be logical there. Shaun Murphy still leading, by the way, the poll by 63%. Only 37 there for Higgins. And I did say that before the match has started that I was going to go for scoreline of 6 frames to 3 there. Higgins has tried to go for the blue in towards the green pocket, and in the end he managed to make it stick, but could have played a bit better in terms of having himself lined up for the next red there. So, he stuck the blue quite nicely there, to be fair to him, because it wasn't easy with such little margin in between the cue ball and the blue. Playing that shot with the rest, just making the shot a bit more tricky there for him. Now has got a similar shot of a rest now to take the red in towards the left corner, but ultimately he's just eliminating those reds there with no real chance to progress further in the frame, because he has to make a significant contact with the main bunch of reds there. He's got 3 more available there to his name until he's going to run out of them, but the second red shot has gone very much wrong there for Higgins. And from the first time, we're actually going to have John Higgins make a break of less than 50 plus points. And this time it's going to end on just 6 points scored there for him. Murphy will come back to the table with not a lot to offer there to himself, to be fair. You know, he can try to roll the red in towards the left corner, but that's probably going to be as far as he gets there for him. But it's a decent effort, and it's more than a decent. It's a brilliant effort there by Murphy. Is he going to be rewarded, though? Probably not. He gets himself lined up for the brown in towards the left middle, but ultimately, I wouldn't really be shocked if he goes for the pink here in towards the left corner. But ultimately, probably just going to roll the cue ball in behind the green to try and force Higgins into a little bit of trouble. So now after eliminating 2 of those reds, we still have 13 in play. 12 in the pack, 1 just underneath it, and 1 more on towards the cushion. Sorry, 11 in the pack, 1 more underneath it, and 1 more in towards the cushion. And yeah, I was surprised to see Murphy go for that shot, to be fair, because he just leaves a straightforward escape there from Higgins. And just play the cue ball in towards the bunch here. As I say, I actually thought that taking the pink on would have been a better option, just because it gives you that 1 more chance of having the position lined up on the red into the left corner, just underneath the back. Of course, it's not there now after the shot from Higgins, and back to the safety play we go. A little bit of a switching turns coming up now. Higgins can try and go for the shot on the left-hand side of those reds, send the cue ball down the table, and have it accelerated on towards the bulk area once again there. So just having a look to see, maybe he's going to try and force Murphy to open up the pack there himself, because Higgins has got that remote red that he can try and push in towards the pack there and get himself lined up for a nice little shot there if he gets the cue ball, I should say, on towards that spine of sort of it being on top of the brown spot. That's going to be the target here for him, and but he can try and go for a cross double now. Decent effort, and just what I was talking about, that spine there of the cue ball, because it just makes options very much limited there for Murphy. Nice shot there by Higgins once again. So far, probably has to say, marginally, Higgins has been on top of those safety battles, and the chances that Murphy has taken into frame-winning ones have actually been from rare mistakes there from Higgins, especially in the previous frame. Murphy has gone for a little bit of a thin shot there on the red. In the end, he's going to give 4 points away to Higgins. So it's now going to be 10-1 advantage in terms of points in this frame, with still 131 available in play. Higgins will have the referee restore the position of the cue ball and ask Shaun to go for attempt number 2 there. I don't think he's going to be sort of 3-miss rule is going to apply to this one though, because I don't think he can see the red full ball there at that time. And it is now Stephen Maguire absolutely dominating there against Zach Doherty. And currently, we've got the match there with 4-1 there being the advantage to Stephen Maguire. That looks to be the favourite now to make it into the semi-final there, become the 3rd player to do that after Zhao Xington and Wu Yize have managed to do the same sort of thing there previously. So for now, we've got 2 people from Scotland, marginally being ahead there of their opposition. I say marginally, 4-1 is not necessarily marginal there over Zach Doherty, and Murphy has gone for the attempt number 2 here, and it's going to be the same outcome there. So 4 points given away to Higgins, and now I want to see if he's going to be warned there by the referee, because that's going to be very important there for the shot selection that he's going to have there. Let's see, let's get the volume on, and let's see if the warning is going to be there. So I think he's going to get away with this one, simply from the fact of, as I say, has to go for that edge of the red there. It depends on the view, he says. And yeah, Murphy's not too happy with the way the cue ball is placed. The referee says that it's fine now. So yeah, he's not going to be warned for this one. So confirmation that he just has to try and make his way past this red and get it thin on the edge, which, to be fair, he managed to do from the 3rd time of asking anyway. So a brilliant shot there by Murphy, and recovers well. It gives away 8 points though, but as I say, just like it was in one of the previous frames, where Murphy got like 29 points. Majority of them were foul shots of Higgins, and didn't actually change anything there because Higgins has gone on to make a break of 112 points to leave Murphy with those 29 points there, and the frame lost at that time. Now Higgins has played a bad shot himself, you would think, unless he gets a lucky kiss of the brown. Has he got that lucky kiss of the brown? He has to be very close to the yellow. I mean, he is close to the yellow, but is there a gap for Murphy to try and take this red in towards the left corner? I mean, the problem for Murphy here is going to be the fact that the cue ball is going to have a big angle there. So, I mean, the trajectory probably is going to have the white leading in towards the main bunch of reds. May force Shaun to play this shot with quite a bit of topspin. And you can see the angle is 131 degrees there for him. And had to make it stick and didn't. Had to focus on the pot first. Probably run himself out of position on the colour anyway. But he's not going to be on the colour. And it's going to be the red available for John Higgins. So those are the chances that, you know, if Murphy doesn't take them, he has to make sure that at least he doesn't leave those over the pocket there for Higgins. And that's exactly what he's done right here, right now. Right now, John Higgins gets himself back onto the table. Still not having the perfect position to his name, even though he's currently having 14 points of an advantage there. Having the black in towards the right corner, but you struggle to understand and you struggle to see the next red that he's actually going to attempt here to try and play for. Because the one is going to be underneath the black. Well, he's got the wrong angle for this one. So therefore, maybe he's just going to try and force the cue ball on towards the right-hand cushion. Accelerating in towards the main pack. That's exactly what he's done. Is he going to be on anything? Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. So 21 points advantage now, but still not going to be anywhere near good enough from the position that Higgins had to himself. As I say, had a free shot there of the red. So, you know, if he studied the position enough there, he would have realised that he couldn't afford to send the cue ball in towards the reds, especially off the cushion. So had to play at least for that red along the black ball cushion there. Didn't. And right now, unless he finds something miraculous, which he has gone for a double to be fair. And he's got it. So I did say unless he finds something miraculous, and he managed to do it. Brilliant response there by John Higgins. And it's now JH very much on the horse now, trying to dominate the play, because ultimately I said he wasn't going to do enough damage there to the position from the cue ball off the right hand cushion. Well, I meant in terms of him getting on the guaranteed red there, but taking up that double in towards the right middle has got him out of all sorts of trouble now. And it's at least now, after having a 29 points advantage, he's got 3 more reds available to him. And of course, that's going to go without saying that, you know, if you take those 3 reds, don't have to stop right there. You can still try and navigate your way through the position a bit more. And just like I said in the previous frame, it has been the exact carbon copy of Zhao against Mark Selby match. Remember, Mark Selby was dominating the game and was winning by 4 frames to 2 there. Scoreline that Higgins is trying to threat Shaun Murphy with right now. And ultimately, Zhao has gone on to win 3 frames on the bounce out there. So let's see if Murphy will be up for the challenge, because he pretty much is the target there for him if he's going to be sort of losing this frame now. 4-2 down to John Higgins. Is one of the last sort of players and the last type of score there that you want to be down to any player on the tour. So Higgins now maybe just trying to accelerate the cue ball in towards the reds, with him having that red to play for in towards the left corner. Played a shot nicely, to be fair. And in the end, even though he has to bridge over a couple of reds, he's still freed up a couple there for himself. So, you know, if he manages to take those nicely, 4-5 reds, yeah, I'd say 5 at least, it's going to be more than enough there for him to navigate his way through onto a frame win, with him having already a 37 points of a gap. Now plays for the black here, and this time, of course, he can try and send the cue ball a bit further up the table and have a couple of reds in towards the left corner there available to his name. So play through the black here, and as long as he misses the majority of those reds now, doesn't catch them with the cue ball, this is going to be planned. It's going to be nicely away there for a red in towards the left corner. That's exactly what he's done there, leaving pretty much no space at all for sort of the cue ball to go past those reds. And the red is going to be available there to him. Doesn't want to be straight on it, of course, But even if it is going to be straight, which is not, you can see there's a clear angle on it, which is going to be perfect there for him to just drop it with a bit of topspin. You know, use the left-hand cushion there, maybe the black ball cushion as well. Have himself with a nice little angle there on the black ball. And have at least one of those 3 reds set up into either left middle, the right corner. Well, he can't get through to the last red of the 3 that I mentioned as 3-1, but if he takes the one in towards the right corner, certainly not going to be an issue for him to do that. So now it's looking not to be straight on this black here, which doesn't seem to be. So just play through the shot there, 2 cushion escape for the cue ball. Maybe get yourself lined up for the middle shot there. Just depends on which approach he decides to take. And in the end, he had more than enough angle there to accelerate the cue ball on towards the top part of the table and get himself lined up nicely for this red in towards the right corner there. So now 53 points clear, 91 on the table. Even though it doesn't look like it, John Higgins is very close to getting himself over the line because, as I say, if he takes those 3 reds out of the game, it's going to be surely more than 67 points clear, which is going to be the requirement there for him because he's going to have 5 reds there left in the bunch as he's approaching another 50 plus break there. So after making the first break in this match there for him, which was less than 50 points, after missing a red in towards the left corner, he's looking to threaten to make the 4th one. And of course, every single time he made the one previously, he's gone on to win the frame, but he's played the shot badly here. He's not going to be away just yet because he's 61 points clear. But of course, those points have come from Murphy's mistakes there. So therefore, he's still going to have a lot of those points on the table there. 83, in fact. Yeah, I'm surprised that Higgins has gone for this approach of the shot because he was always going to be a massive shot there for him to take in terms of the power that he had to play the black in towards the right corner. And, well, just like I said, it looks like it's going to be the second one, which is not going to reach the 50 points value of a break there for Higgins. It's going to be a lot better than getting 6 points, to be fair. Stephen Maguire surely is now just trying to run away with it against Zach Doherty and threatening on a 5-1 lead there against the Essex. Of course, was made a 1-4-7 this week already, but it does look like it's going to be too much of a challenge there for him to go alongside Stephen Maguire and actually sort of beat him onto the semi-final place. Remember, Doherty managed to win the opening frame, so he's very close to losing 5 frames on the bounce out there. And I mean, it's a brilliant shot there by Higgins. I'm not sure if that was, you know, the way he was actually trying to do it. Obviously, there was no hand of apology there, so that was the approach. But the execution has been absolutely sublime there from Higgins' point of view. And Murphy can try and get himself on towards the bunch of reds now, but has to do it from underneath the bunch, which, you know, probably is going to risk him a couple of points there, which he can't afford to lose right now. He's being 61 down with 83 on the table, but I say he can afford to lose points. He can't really afford to lose the frame now because 4-2 down to John Higgins, as I say, is probably the same as being 5-1 down there to Stephen Maguire. Just because of the consistency there and the relentless playing style of Higgins. You know, as I said previously, he's lost out 4 frames from the bounce there against Scott Donaldson, but that was yesterday, and so far haven't seen any of those signs that history is going to repeat itself. So now a massive shot for Murphy. I mean, he was looking at the plan previously, so maybe he's just going to go for a little shot there of trying to hammer the red into the other there and try and accelerate him into the plant there. Yeah, he's missed it altogether. And the price looks like it's going to be very much huge there for him because he's going to have a red available there for Higgins. So he's certainly gone for the shot that was not a hidden hole, but do or die. And it looks like it's not going to do it for him at this stage of the frame. Higgins basically has this red now to roll, and then the black and the red to make sure that it's the last that we've seen of Shaun Murphy. The red is in. The position on the black is going to be there for him, and the next red is going to make sure that Shaun Murphy will have that Zhao Xington gap to try and overturn in his favour. As I say, the blueprint is there, but you know, Selby was playing some of the inconsistent snooker there. He wasn't really in the game for too much there, and of course compromised by the fact that He had one of those frames thrown away very early with him having a bad break-off shot, which of course was the invitation that Zhao has needed. And it is going to be a 4-2 gap there to John Higgins as he gets himself a red and a black combination. And now 75 points remaining. So all the red now, only one of those is going to take him in towards the gap that he actually is seeking right now. And get the cue ball on towards the black one more time. It's going to be the one in towards the right middle here. So if you roll this one in, it's certainly not going to be any coming back there from Murphy's point of view. And that's going to be the case there because it's going to be a gap of 70 points with 67 on the table. So even if Higgins was to miss a black right now, which ain't going to happen anyway because he managed to hammer that one home, it is going to be a 4-2 gap there for Shaun Murphy to try and overturn. Another match that you could see similarities with is going to be Ding Junhui against Shaun Murphy, actually, because Murphy was doing similar sort of thing there to Ding as Higgins is doing to Murphy right now. Just managing to take 2 frames for every frame that Murphy takes. And in the end, the 2-0 gap there to Higgins. He just manages to keep it for now. The same way, 3-1, 4-2 now. Just allows Murphy to have that one frame there. And then comes back with a brilliant performance of his own and now produces the breaks of 62 and 24 and counting. Of course, the incredible thing is he could have 2 50-plus breaks here, with them being 60-plus if he is to go anywhere near total clearance, which is going to be unlikely now with the way he's played this shot, but going to be very straight on the blue. And in fact, not even sure that he can actually get through to the blue here. So, yeah, has to try and plan away, sort of play away with it. And it's not going to be another 50-plus break, but in the end, it's 25 points, which is going to do it there for John Higgins. He is getting now all the gaps that he needs, and it is now Shaun Murphy 2, John Higgins 4. The Magician certainly will need to upgrade his magic wand now, because it's the Wizard of Wishaw has been playing all sorts of sublime snooker there. And Stephen Maguire, by the way, 5 frames on the bounce against Zach Zuerti. It is turning it into an absolute demolition job out there. And it's Maguire now that has got 5 chances to get himself in towards the semi-final. And what a way to start this. Brilliant shot there by Maguire once again there. So, he's about 20 shots away there from the semi-final spot. Of course, he's going to be the first one of the season. Incredibly, he is the ranking event winner, technically, with him winning the Championship League this season. I think it was actually against John Higgins previously. But, semi-final of the International Championship, especially with the prize money of the tournament and everything. By the way, if you're not sure, it's going to be 33,000 ranking points and prize money in pounds sterling that every one of the 4 players is going to achieve for making the semi-final. Of course, something that Zhao Xington, Wu Yize have guaranteed themselves. And Stephen Maguire basically has 1 hand and a half there on that check, as he's now approaching the win against Zach Zuerti there on the break of 16 points there and counting, up against the Essex net that was struggling for form there and for consistency previously, but you still have to say that you would have expected this match to be a bit closer there than it actually has panned out. And ultimately, let's see which is the way which is going to go now in Shaun Murphy against John Higgins clash. Well, the main focus is going to switch to this one anyway, with it being the Table 1 match here, and also just being the one that he's going to have more eyes of the audience on. John Higgins is 2 frames away there after the intermission break of making it the match that counts there for him. And once again there, as we still haven't restored back the reds and the colours, thank you very much for everyone that's watching. Feel free to subscribe there. We've got the semi-finals tomorrow and Saturday for Wu Yize and Zhao Xington there tomorrow, potentially, as it stands right now, looking very likely like we're going to have a Scottish derby there, just like it was of Anthony McGill against John Higgins there in the British Open. Looks like we're going to have John Higgins and Stephen Maguire knocking on the door there for the semi-finals, both of them. Although Zach Zuerti has managed to get himself back into the frame and is currently trying to challenge Maguire with having a little bit of a break himself of 7 points. Shaun Murphy now is ready to get frame number 7 on the line. Of course, could be the penultimate one if Murphy is to lose this one as well. So far, the tendency has been that Higgins wins the match, wins the frame, and then Murphy responds with a win of his own. Let's see if that's going to keep it that way. Higgins is going to be able to try and run away with it finally. As I say, the blueprint has been there for him, and the performances from this season certainly have been there for Higgins, but it's just sometimes he's struggled for the consistency, especially in late parts of the season. And, you know, when he's got himself into a Wuhan Open quarter-final against Gary Wilson, he lost out at that occasion to the runner-up. But what a great shot that is. And if he gets the cue ball to slow down, what a beautiful shot that is from John Higgins to get himself lined up for the black in towards the right corner. Red went in right into the heart of the pocket there. And what a chance this is there. Straight from the kickoff, straight from the break-off. And now it's back to John Higgins' advantage. Looking to pick up exactly where he left off in the previous frame. As he rolls the black in, gets himself on one more red there, which is going to be the last one of the available reds. But nobody said that you can't cannon a few more there for yourself, especially with the way that Higgins has been playing right now. I think he's going to have the line on the cue ball to try and cannon the white in towards those couple of reds. Let's see if he's going to get him anywhere near getting a couple of those in the open plate. Doesn't look to be that way, and with the way he's looked at this black, it's actually probably landed too straight on this one as well. So Murphy is still actually leading the poll by 62%. Right now it's actually Higgins leading the pursuit and trying to accelerate himself off into the win of the match. And it's a decent effort there. I would say it's a mighty effort. Bit short on the power there from the cue ball. And he's going to have himself lined up for the shot in towards the left corner if he fancies that one. But don't think he's going to be looking to find adventures there on his name. And just trying to play a safe shot here. So finding the perfect route for the cue ball. It's now 16 points. He's going to be the gap there for him. And ultimately, at this late stage of the match, it's going to be better than nothing. As Stephen Maguire gets himself restored on the break here. So 17 points, plays 12 there. Not too many reds actually left out on the table there. Only 107 points. Which means we already had 5 points eliminated there. 5 reds eliminated there, I should say. I mean, Higgins can try and go for the really thin cut of the red in towards the left corner there, but refuses and decides against it in the end. So just plays a nice little safety shot to make sure that the yellow is going to cover up the left-hand side of the reds there for Shaun Murphy to try and play. Playing the shot quite nicely there for himself. And back to Murphy it goes. Can't really say that Shaun has done an awful lot of rot now in the last couple of frames. Just didn't have the chances there that Higgins has managed to make for himself with a brilliant long pot to get him 16 points in this frame. And a brilliant break there, of course, on the previous occasion. Get himself a nice little cushion over Shaun Murphy. And in the end, was just able to finish off the job there with another break of 25 points. Yeah, Murphy's just having a little look to see if he's going to have a couple of those reds available in towards the right corner to play. Maybe he's going to have a little plan there available to him, but as I say, I think at this stage, it's going to be unlikely for him to get the cue ball into a safe zone. Therefore, has to take it with a careful approach. Send the cue ball in towards the main bunch of reds, and looks to be perfect in terms of the pace. Yeah, really nice shot played. As long as he hasn't given a red, of course, in towards the left middle, but you would have thought that you would have checked that one previously. Higgins having a little bit of a look there towards it, and in the end, maybe, he's going to take another look at it, but as I say, I would be very surprised there if that sort of mistake comes from Murphy. Seems to check everything multiple times there before playing a shot, in terms of what reds are going to be available for your opponent, what you're actually leaving, in terms of the open reds and open colours there to him. In the end, it had to be a safety shot played there by Higgins, and back to Murphy it goes. As he's now looking to find a way out of another tricky situation there. Whatever you say about Higgins, he certainly has been massively on top of Murphy here in the safety play so far. Gets himself into another tricky position now, Murphy. After playing a good recovery shot last time of asking, he probably has to go for another two-cushion escape this time. Sends the cue ball from underneath the reds, and the line is certainly good there. Is he going to have enough pace though? Not this time around. So 4 foul points once again go the way of Higgins, and I think the referee will try and restore the cue ball back on its original place and have Murphy forced to play at least one more chance there and one more attempt of getting the cue ball exactly where it should be. Once again, there's Zach Doherty and Stephen Maguire still trailing Reds there. 99 points are on the table right now, and of course means that the 9 Reds are still in open play, and 6 of them already been potted there with only 30 points scored there out of those 6 Reds. So attempt number 2 now for Murphy, and it's a lot better, and this time it is going to reach the Reds there. So Higgins has to play the cue ball away from the back here once again. Would love a little touch and ball there to his name, but doesn't seem to be the case this time around. So just play the cue ball in towards the red on this occasion. And, well, I mean, doesn't want to leave anything easy to Murphy, of course. A nice little shot there of a screw back off the cue ball in towards the black ball cushion. Just has to make sure that he blocks any sort of chance of a top spin there being played for Higgins' point of view. Let's see what Murphy will have to offer right now. Maybe just try and get the little bit of the edge there of the red in towards the black ball cushion. And he's playing the shot all right, but not perfect. As I say, there's going to be a minor gap for Higgins to try and get underneath the cue ball. And, still, the angle is going to be there for him, of course, to try and send the cue ball off into the bulk area, which I think is going to be the prime opportunity for Higgins to try and actually do it. Got a little bit of that wider contact on the cue ball, though, so nearly caught the jaw of the pocket. In the end, he's played the shot just about as fine as he could have, but as I say, it was marginal in terms of him catching the middle jaw of the pocket, which would have sent the cue ball off into the left-hand side of the table and potentially left a couple of those reds available there for Murphy for the taking. Not on this occasion, though. And back to the safety play goes. And the thing about Higgins' safety shots is, for the majority of this frame, he's been putting Murphy in the position that he has to play the shot from a couple of cushions there, which A is going to cost you points, and B is just going to limit the control that you actually got of the cue ball. So let's see if Murphy's going to go for a nice little red in towards the left corner. Doesn't seem to be that way, at least on this occasion. And once again there, the idea was nice from Murphy. The execution wasn't quite as nice. He was trying to get the cue ball down on the table there, but if you're going to play that shot, you have to make sure that the cue ball is actually going to stick to the black ball cushion, which ain't going to be the case right now. And it just leaves another opportunity there for Higgins to try and send the red in towards the lower part of the table, and therefore have himself lined up for another comfortable visit to his chair. Murphy with a little bit of a struggle in terms of him restoring the parity, at least in this safety battle. So let's see what Higgins has got to offer. He's gone for just trying to take the red away there from the main pack, but I mean, he had to make sure he didn't actually show it to Murphy. And let's see if he managed to succeed in that mission, because if he has, he's probably going to leave Murphy with a similar sort of shot there to play, getting the cue ball in towards the left corner pocket and just trying to get the little cannon of the reds and send those in towards the main pack of them. So Murphy just having a look to see if he's going to have this red available there in towards the green pocket. I mean, if their chance is there, as I say, you know, there's one way for you to actually try and restore parity from the safety battle is go for the red that your opponent leaves to you. But that's not the way to do it. Pushing the red over the right middle pocket there for Higgins to try and take. And it's probably going to be the shot that is going to cost Shaun Murphy the frame here, because, you know, when Higgins doesn't convert the chance from the first time of asking, and when you leave such a present there to him, certainly would expect him to do it from the second time here. And as I said, if you're going to follow the blueprint of Selby against Zhao, you're going to have to make sure you win 3 frames on the bounce now if you're Shaun Murphy. And that mission has probably gone from really difficult to impossible if Higgins manages to get himself on the collar, which, I mean, he hasn't really done too good of a job at actually doing here. Going to have blue to take in towards the yellow pocket. Think he's not going to be available there for him. As once again there, Maguire is currently trying to get away from Zuiti there to finally put the match to bed out there and take it with a commanding lead of 6 frames to 1. Higgins just tries to roll the blue in towards the pocket and certainly will drop it in So recovered nicely. And as I say, probably the last shot that we've seen Shaun Murphy play in this match has already been in the past now. 26 points is the advantage there for Higgins, even though there's 123 points on the table. Those reds are going to disappear like flies there for him, in towards the pockets. Having so many of those available, probably the only one that is not going to be playable there for him at this stage is going to be the one on the cushion. But if anything, it's going to be more of an advantage there to Higgins from the point of view of Murphy is more likely to require that red than Higgins actually is, with him trying to aim for a 32 points of a gap here. And of course, we'll be very surprised if we're going to see John Higgins in the semi-final. Very pleased. But as I say, I always thought the British Open campaign was compromised by the lucky sort of the draw that he got. And, the first real challenge that was presented to him was actually Anthony McGill, which didn't actually manage to pass there. But, the Xi'an Grand Prix was actually quite a nice performance with him. Not the Xi'an Grand Prix, apologies, Northern Ireland Open, with him getting himself in towards the quarter-final stage. Up against Watchalong, where he managed to lose out there. Only just though, so he certainly put up a decent fight there, beating Su Xiaowei by 5 frames to 1 out there. And ultimately, right now, he's probably stuck in between a couple of reds to choose from. He's got the one in towards the left corner, but he also's got similar approach in towards the right corner as well. Probably will go for the one in towards the left part of the table. Has to mount his leg on the table here and probably play for the black here, unless he wants to sun the cue and play for the blue. And, he's gone for the shot in between there, so has the pink lined up in towards the right middle pocket to go 39 points clear. And the thing that I would actually consider there, of course Higgins would have thought about it previously, where's the pink going to go now? Because I don't think Higgins will like this pink underneath the main bunch of reds, because it's just going to limit his options to a couple of fewer reds there than he would have had previously to his name. And referee will certainly have a close look at this one. And Higgins, meanwhile, have a little bit of a rest there, as he's got 39 points advantage there to his name, 107 still on the table. And meanwhile, let's have a look how Maguire is doing. He's certainly trying to accelerate away there. 34 points of advantage there over Zach Tuity, and 59 points on the table. By the way, Zach Tuity only managed to make 150 plus break in the entire match there, and of course that came in the opening encounter, and Stephen Maguire finally looks to put it to bed there, because he gets himself another red, puts himself 35 points clear, with only 51 points on the table out there. So it looks like the fairy tale for Zach Tuity is going to come to an end, as Maguire takes another black there. So it's all going to be about just trying to take one red with one more colour there, which he has managed to do. So now a frame ball and a match ball for Stephen Maguire to get himself into a semi-final clash. Meanwhile, the referee has managed to restore the pink, so Higgins will come back to the table himself. And ultimately not quite over the line there with Maguire, because he hasn't managed to take the colour off that red. And ultimately, Zach Tuity can still tie for a respot, but ultimately we'll come back to that one. And I think when we do, it is going to be Stephen Maguire as the winner of that quarter-final, and booking himself in towards the clash with either John Higgins or Shaun Murphy, which, as I said previously, when he was 4-2, he's looking more and more likely that he is going to be a Scottish derby, opposed to the Chinese derby of Buies and Zhao, which is, of course, confirmed there for Friday. Let's see what the Saturday schedule is going to be there. Is it going to be 2 men from Scotland? We have 2 men from England, of course, featuring in those quarterfinals, if you don't count Barry Hawkins and Mark Selby, which already have been eliminated here earlier today. And ultimately, it looks like out of the 4 people from England that were in the quarterfinal stage, we're not going to see any of them, unless there's going to be an absolute incredible comeback there from Zach Tuity, and probably not so much less of an incredible from Shaun Murphy's point of view, because he's very much on the cards there of going 5-2 down to John Higgins, and Maguire is still battling away for that last red, which surely is going to get him over the line. And his clash against Zach Tuity out there. And Higgins just takes the red nicely there, and travels the cue ball onto the ball colours, but as it has been for the majority of the match. It hasn't troubled him too much there, and manages to recover back to the lower part of the table once again here. And gets the red lined up for the left corner. Of course, easy 57 points now. Away now from Shaun Murphy, and it's a break of 37 points, so doesn't want to be straight on the blue though, and looks like he will be. So just having a little look to see where the ideal cue ball placement is actually going to be here. Just about. The cue ball is going to be marginally on top of the blue here, but ultimately it doesn't look like it's going to be enough of a gap there for Higgins to try and work with. Therefore just has to try and roll the cue ball through the shot on the blue ever so slightly, and get himself lined up with a minimal angle there on this red, which he's going to approach him to the frame ball area. In fact, if it's going to be the color which is going to be more expensive than brown, so blue, pink, or black, with the pink of course being out of the game. So blue or black right now after this red will ensure that Shaun Murphy is going to require snookers to get himself out of that 5-2 deficit there to try and actually deal with. And as I say, if that is going to be the case, I think he's just going to have to count the frames which Shaun Murphy has got in this campaign of the International Championship. And probably just hasn't been his day there to an extent, but certainly has been John Higgins' day, as he will roll the red nicely in towards the left corner. Gets himself lined up for the black in towards the same corner pocket there. And now to get him 70 points clear with 67 on the table. So will require one snooker needed there for Shaun Murphy. And just on the cue ball to play a shot in towards the left middle there. So clearly being happy there to give the position away here to his opponent. Should he miss this red in towards the left middle, which of course is not a guarantee. With Higgins making another 50 plus break. So, you know, after struggling for those in the previous frame, manages to restore the brilliance of break building skills there for him. And will absolutely hammer the red in towards the left middle for good measure to ensure that it is going to be 5-2 of a gap confirmed, and no more shots played for Shaun Murphy after a couple of mistakes there. As I said, you know, I just felt like he had to be more aggressive with the shots that he's had in the previous frame, simply because Higgins was winning every single safety battle against Murphy, and therefore limiting the options for Shaun to actually get himself on the break. And there's your outcome, the break of 59 points. So technically could still be enough for Higgins to try and actually make it into a sort of century break there for himself, as he's now got 51 points on the table, and 66 is the current break there for him. So fourth highest in the match, and third highest for John Higgins' point of view. If he rolls another red in colour, he's going to make it the third highest there for himself. So he's got a rest shot now to try and aim that red towards the left corner. Oh, he's tried to bring one more red into play, and he's played that shot to an absolute perfection there. The only slight disadvantage there is he's landed pretty straight on his pink though, so I mean he can try and go for the black there, but it's just going to be such a difficult red for him, difficult black there, sorry, for him to go for. Has to roll this one in for the century break, and he's going to stay out there, it would seem, but he's got to drop in the end. He felt like John Higgins was trying to just go back to his chair at that time. Not this time around. He's still got business to try and do here for the third century break in this match, and the second one from John Higgins' point of view. You know, after a break of sort of 6 points there earlier on, he didn't manage to do anything in the safety battle there, Shaun Murphy, and in the end it's a second chance that was enough there for John Higgins. Let's see if it's going to be enough there for him to make a second century here. He rolls the red in towards the right corner, so 6 colours on the spots now, and 7 shots for the total clearance. Of course, a little bit less than that if he wants to make just a century break. He'll be 89 with this black in towards the left corner, and the yellow in towards its own pocket there. So, you know, 11 points now is going to be the pursuit there for him. So 4 shots required for the century break. Just play through the shot there, through the yellow, get himself lined up for the pink, using the ball cushion to his advantage as well. And beautiful execution, by the way, from Higgins' point of view, because the position wasn't easy. You know, I had some of the easy positions in this match here, but this I don't think was one of them, especially with the way it started. He managed to get himself a fair chance there of a couple of safety mistakes there from Murphy's point of view, and now he's only 2 shots away from making it the second century break in sort of 4 frames there, of course, for himself. Of course, it's going to be the third one in the last 4 frames, with Shaun Murphy making one more there to his name, and a break of 137 points that you thought was going to get him on the charge there. Instead, it's going to be the charge for John Higgins, as it is going to be a second century in this match, and 103 points now, making that 109. And let's see now for the total clearance and the highest break for John Higgins in this match here of 116. Brilliant stuff there from John, and he now gets himself into a lead of 5 frames to 2 there, and we could have the last frame as the one which is going to be the last one of Shaun Murphy's campaign of this international championship here in China, Nanjing. And Stephen Maguire certainly has managed to get himself over the line there, so that activity is out. Not Shaun Maguire, Stephen Maguire is into the semi-finals, and now he's just probably awaiting there for John Higgins. Don't think he'll be waiting there for Shaun Murphy, because, you know, you can sort of expect Murphy for it to be possible to actually play him, but from 5-2 down, I think it's going to be an ultimate challenge there for Murphy to try and overcome, especially with Higgins playing. So it wasn't really, realistically, think about it, I don't actually think that Murphy has been playing too badly. As I say, one of those 2 frames that he managed to take was actually a brilliant clearance of 137 points. You know, another break of sort of, I think it was 52 points in one of the early stages of the match there. So he's had those chances, he just didn't manage to convert them into any more than 2 frames won. But I mean, from John Higgins' point of view, he has been absolutely perfect in every aspect of the game. The breaks of 116, the breaks of 112, there was a break of 87 points, there was a break of 67 points, so 4 60-plus breaks there for him in those 5 frames that he managed to win. Is absolutely staggering there for you to think about. And ultimately, he's only 1 frame away now from beating Shaun Murphy and making himself the 4th and last semi-finalist there. Certainly set up for a nice little Scottish derby and Chinese derby there, with Xiao Xingtuan, Wu Yizi, Stephen Maguire being the 3 players that actually confirmed themselves. John Higgins makes his way back onto the arena, so just waiting for Shaun Murphy to return for frame number 8 to start, which still could be the last one that John Higgins will need to get himself off into the semi-final place up against Stephen Maguire out there. I'll say all to play for, and ultimately I just think it's going to be such a massive win there for Maguire over Zuriti. You know, I still would think it was coming into that match as a bit of a sort of 50-50 clash with, you know, Zuriti has been actually playing some good stuff out there. It was against Neil Robertson, which, you know, wasn't easy for him to actually overcome and make that nice little 3-0 cushion there to his name. And he's managed to do it, and in the end, he's now got 3 chances to close off the match. Technically 4 chances, of course, but, you know, even though he is a decider specialist, I don't think he would like to see a decider. And this time around, Murphy is ready to, well, witness the breakoff shot first from John Higgins, and then hopefully try and at least see a red there for himself, because it always is a pity when you don't even get a chance there in the frame that actually sees you eliminated from the championship. So Higgins ready to get the 8th frame started here, and just like it was on the 7 of previous occasions, it's another brilliant breakoff shot there. So let's see. Well, not so much on the previous one from Murphy, to be fair, to think about it, because it was a brilliant long shot from Higgins, but it still was a red that Murphy actually left there for him to go 4-2 up at that time. And right now Murphy just trying to get himself one more chance there, one more frame maybe, and try and take the momentum away from Higgins. Probably has to be the sort of one of those tasks, and the second one has to be try and build some momentum of your own there. Starts off with a decent safety play though. Gets himself lined up for the cue ball on towards the top part of the table. And yeah, he's got this red lined up in towards the right corner, so has to be careful that this plant is not going to go too close to it. And you know, he's played it in a way that the contact was so minimal that none of the reds has actually gone away from the pack here. Once again, really nice safety shot being played from John Higgins' point of view. And you know, as I say, very much a contrasting performance from what we've seen from both of the players tomorrow, yesterday. Ding performance from Murphy was a lot better than what we've seen so far here, and Scott Donaldson performance for John Higgins has been a lot worse than what we're actually seeing so far here today as well. But ultimately, John Higgins now that is having a red lined up in towards the left corner here. So, I mean, we've seen those taken on the previous occasion here. So maybe it's going to be one more chance there. As we've seen on a couple of previous occasions, sometimes it's only one chance that John Higgins will actually need there to himself to make another break of 60 plus there and get himself a 6-2 lead. Not this time around. So Murphy will at least get one more shot there. And it looks to be the red, which is actually going to finish there quite close towards the yellow pocket there. So you would expect Murphy to have a go at this one. Maybe try and pot it and get himself lined up on one of the ball colours. But ultimately, it is going to be a bit different there from John Higgins' point of view, because you know he was leaving the cue ball lined up for the red, for the black I should say, in towards the left corner. Therefore, he had a chance to develop a couple of those reds, of sending the white in towards the main pack of them. And Shaun Murphy, after careful consideration, does look like he's going to go for this red, and he's going to make it stick quite nicely. So not quite done with this match just yet, and it's a brilliant long shot there from Murphy to get him started with this encounter. And you know, the fourth frame charge begins there for him, and it begins with a nice little long shot in towards the yellow pocket. And yep, doesn't look like the challenge is going to last too long though, because he's going to miss the yellow in towards sort of green pocket there that he was playing it for. And the same red that, you know, he could have tried to send a cue ball in towards is actually going to be available here for John Higgins to try and play, because I think Murphy was trying to accelerate the cue ball enough there so he would have some traction to try and develop those reds. And in the end, looked like he got away with this one. So just a single point scored there from Murphy, but ultimately, at least he doesn't give it another chance there to John Higgins to try and take advantage of. And Murphy just having a look to see if he's going to have anything available here for him. Doesn't look to be the case, and maybe just try and send the cue ball down the table there for the lonely red on the black ball cushion there from Murphy. And of course, seen those couple of misses there with him trying to catch it perfectly thin. And in the end, acknowledgement there from Higgins. So clearly Murphy playing the shot really well. Thought he actually not played the shot too well there, because I think he's got a red available here for Higgins in towards the right corner. So let's see if John is going to take that one on. Obviously, he feels like Shaun has done the most out of what was available to him. And yeah, certainly not going to go for the red in towards the right corner. He's just going to try and push a couple of more reds in towards the corner pocket itself. Just to make sure that he's going to be in charge of the cue ball. And none of these reds are going to go too close towards the corner pocket. And both of these missions certainly have been accomplished by John Higgins, not just right now, but also on the majority of the stage for this match. Murphy's percentage has been going downhill ever since that opening frame, which he managed to lose to John Higgins. And as I say, you know, based on what I've seen both in this season and in this week's campaign, I did have Murphy to win this match by 6 frames to 3. And of course, if the scoreline is to be correct, he's going to be on the receiving end of things anyway, on any other scoreline other than the decider, which he has to work really hard there for himself anyway. So, not too sure of the shot that he's actually trying to go for right now. Maybe sending the cue ball down the table here, but you know, if he plays it that way, he has to make sure that he gets the cue ball perfectly on towards the black cushion, and he hasn't managed to do it. So another little invitation there from Higgins to try and take the red in towards the left middle. He has been refusing the majority of those so far. Let's see if the history is going to repeat itself, or is he going to finally attempt at least one of those reds. And the thing about Higgins, of course, is he's very patient, and he has been very patient in his game there. And it wasn't like Murphy was impatient there, but there was a lot more misses on a safety play from Murphy than they have been from Higgins' point of view. And therefore, Higgins knows if he plays that extra safety shot, he's likely to win the safety battle and get an easier chance there for himself than the ones that Murphy's going to present with sort of semi-decent safety shots there to his name. And, missing all of those reds entirely. Not going to be happy with himself. And Yeah, I think, has he left anything though for Higgins? The one in towards the left middle is going to be the main focus there for him and me to actually have a look on. Certainly has left a long shot in towards the yellow pocket, and just as I said there previously, just play that extra shot there, force your opponent into a bigger error, and certainly try and pick up the scraps now. Murphy can't complain too much. He had an early chance there, but managed to miss the yellow. We're yet to find out, if the line of the cue ball would have been different. Of course, he had not caught the draw of the middle pocket, and therefore could have been a very different story. Instead, it's a bit of a same story for this match, because John Higgins gets himself on the board now, and it's a single point that he scores. But once again there, just like he was on the previous occasions, he's got such a lovely position here ahead of him, and I think we're yet to see a major error there of Higgins when he's got that position to his possession now. So rolls the pink now in towards the left middle. Going to be very interesting to see where the pink is going to go. Probably either back on his spot there, or of course he's got the yellow spot available, so he can't go underneath the reds, which is going to be an advantage there for Higgins anyway. And it looks like the pink is actually going to take its own spot there, so don't think that was the plan there from Higgins. And I actually also don't think that the pink is actually spotted correctly, because if you look at the spine, I just think the referee got that one a bit wrong there. See if there's going to impact Higgins on the future. But if you look at the spine, you can just clearly see pink being closer to the left-hand side of the table than it is onto the right one. But maybe it's the angle of the camera. Anyway, Higgins now will try and restore all 6 colours on the spots there. We're taking the yellow in towards the left middle. And a little bit of the backspin on the cue ball. As I say, you would struggle to see any sort of problem zone here from John Higgins' point of view. And it's now 9 points is the advantage there. That would seem very minor there, but certainly having all of those reds available there to himself, apart from maybe the one which is currently sitting on the black ball cushion, a bit closer to the left-hand side of the table than it is to the right. Nicely played, perfectly played there, in fact, by Higgins, because not only did he manage to get himself on the black, he also managed to get a minimal distance there of the cue ball onto the black, which is going to get him all sorts of control of the cue ball here. And the first couple of shots on the reds are going to be very important there for him, because if he just takes the more difficult ones out of the way, he's going to be able to get through to the easier ones sooner rather than later. Gets himself a gap of 17 points now to his name, and goes for the red now in towards the right corner. So looking to accelerate that one away and play the cue ball once again there for the blue. So finish on the top side of it would have been very much the target area there for him. And yeah, I mean, when I say top side, not so much to be fair, because he's basically got a perfect angle now to send the cue ball down into the reds there, but I don't think he wants to do that just yet. Surely he's got way too many reds to try and risk it now. And maybe just send the cue ball in towards the left-hand side of the area with the top spin to make sure he's going to pass all of those reds. And he's just going to have himself lined up for the red in towards the right corner on the way back out there. But he's gone into the pack. I was against that decision, and that's why didn't have to play that shot. I have no idea why he played that shot. John Higgins, one of the most sort of consistent and smartest players on the tour, especially with him playing that shot with such little power. I just couldn't see anything other than that actually occurring there for him. It's a safety shot all day long now, because you got the pink covering the right hand side of the table, and you've got the plant of reds which are going absolutely nowhere on the left hand side of it. So not quite from the first chance, but it is the frame to actually get himself over the line here. So you would understand a little bit of the struggle now from Higgins' point of view. But ultimately, one thing that is actually going to be a benefit there to himself is he hasn't missed the red and left an easy chance here for Murphy. He's sort of run himself out of position, but he's still going to play a safety shot now. So going to have that one more shot advantage here on Murphy. And of course 23 points to his name as well, that Murphy doesn't currently have, with 107 of those still being available up for grabs there on the table. Murphy once again there goes for a little bit of the thin shot off the red, and this time catches it really nicely, as long as he misses the yellow, which he hasn't. And yeah, I just think he's played the shot Gets a bit lucky there, to be fair, but he's played the shot in a way that he was always going to leave that red available to Higgins to try and play. But, you know, the little kiss that he got on the yellow means that there's going to be a green in between the cue ball and the red. If Higgins was going to take that one in towards the right corner, ultimately it's still going to be a massive problem there for him to try and overcome the challenge. In Murphy's point of view, because he's got the black and pink all covered up now, although just as I say it, Higgins has actually voluntarily freed up the pink into majority of the pockets, left the same red that I was talking about as the potential chance for Higgins' point of view available to Murphy. Ultimately, I still don't think that Murphy's going to be too sort of rushing himself to take that chance, simply because of the cue ball having that line there. It's not really going to land on anything there, and Murphy has gone for a bit of a reckless shot anyway. And let's see if he's going to make the difference there to himself and very much cost him. Another opportunity given away here to John Higgins' point of view. And it is, because the red is going to finish in a potable position now for Higgins in towards the left middle. So play the shot with a little power. Make sure that you're going to have either blue on the right hand side of the table, or you got to have the ball colours available there to himself. So it just has a little look to see which way and which approach he's actually going to take on. And of course, freeing up the pink now, as long as you're at the table, has been very much a beneficial decision from John Higgins' point of view. Now rolls the red in towards the left middle, but misses it. So he was there for him as a chance. In the end, the same chance is going to be presented to Shaun Murphy. He can try and take the same red there. The position is still not perfect there for him, but it's better than sort of giving the frame and match away to John Higgins. Gets himself lined up for the red in towards the left middle, of course, which was missed by Higgins previously. And so now just having a look to see if he's going to be able to get himself on towards the ball colours with a perfect angle there to get the cue ball down the table from Murphy's point of view. Because he's only 22 points down, which is going to be a massive relief there for him, with us having eliminated 48 points already off the table after this yellow will come in to its own pocket there. Played it nicely there from Murphy, but not nice enough, it would seem. He needs to be straight on the red or have the angle on the cue ball that he's going to send it towards the top part of the table. And in the end, it looks like he's left himself with a little bit of the room to actually go for the red, which gives him that angle. So, you know, just about enough power there applied from Murphy. And, of course, 5-3. Still not going to be quite game over there from his point of view. And roll the pink in towards the left corner right now. He's going to go a bit higher up the table and make sure it is going to be restored back on his spot, which at this stage is very much freed up there for any realistic sort of crowding of the reds there. I mean, the right corner is covered up from the pink, but I don't think he will be for the majority of the time, because that's going to be two of the next reds that Shaun Murphy is actually going to focus on. So roll the pink in towards the left corner right now. I mean, Murphy has gone for a different shot approach. He's gone for the blue in towards the right middle. So a bit surprised to see that actually occur there for him at that time. And ultimately, he's going to go for the red in towards the right corner now. So being 6 points down, he can still try and go for the pink to be set up in towards the left corner pocket. So the pink is going to make him level on points with John Higgins, with still having quite a few of those points, to be fair, left out on the table. It is now 24 points each, so still 75 on the table. 3 of those reds can be eliminated here from Murphy's point of view, but on top of that, it's going to be quite difficult for him to actually make his way through those danger zones. And yeah, the first one is going to be taken away right now after this pink in towards the left corner now. So just a little bit of topspin and a little bit of power there on the cue ball, and get himself lined up for the shot into the opposite side of the table. So the pink is going to be the colour for Murphy to try and navigate his way through for the majority of those shots, at least until he gets the cue ball in towards those 3 reds, which are currently sitting quite comfortably on the black ball spot. He puts Murphy, wouldn't say as a massive favourite, but he puts him in with a chance there of actually winning this frame and still keeping the match alive against his opponent. Once again there, goes for the pink in towards the left corner and tries to roll the red in towards the right corner there. So 14 points is the advantage there. So if he takes one more red with the pink, it's going to be 21 points advantage going into the last 51 points available. But crucially, I mean, it clearly was a plan there. Shaun Murphy tries to take the pink spot with the cue ball and gets himself lined up for the red in towards the right corner to have himself a little bit of a backup to have that pink playable. And in the end, I don't think it's going to be the case though, because even though he's managed to get at least one of those reds in the available play, he's now got 51 points on the table. And ultimately, I mean, does he have to go for this pink right now? He probably does. And he's gone for it in towards the middle. Has he made it? Yes, he has. So he's still alive here. 21 points is the advantage now. Can he take the red alongside the black ball cushion and get himself lined up for a nice little sort of 4 sequence of shots now, which is going to get him over the line here, but has to play with a bit of power. Makes the red missable, but not on this occasion. Brilliant shot there by Murphy, and it's probably the one that is actually going to bite him a little bit of time here and at least make sure that we're going to go to frame number 9 there for John Higgins to finally take this match to bed out there. So another pink will disappear in towards the left middle now. So 28 points is the advantage for Murphy. Of course, it would have been a different story has he been playing those reds with the black there, but hasn't been available. So ultimately, this red and pink to go 35 points clear, which it has going to be said is going to be a mighty effort there from Murphy's point of view. And in the end, I think he overplayed for the pink slightly. So let's see if he's going to be happy with the way. He's actually going to have himself set up now. And does he have the angle, really, to try and send the cue ball in towards the red there and try and cannon it away from the black? I mean, answers on the post guard, realistically. I mean, you could probably say that he's better off trying to just put the pink safe and trying to snooker Higgins with the entire table there in between the sort of black and the cue, with the red in the cue ball. If you're going to place it exactly on the black ball cushion. So, very interesting to see what the approach is going to be there for him. But it wasn't the right shot approach. I mean, I don't know why on earth you would play the shot with so much power. And also, he's missed the pink in towards the right corner, which means that Higgins is still potentially can get himself back into this frame there. Doesn't need snookers just yet. Doesn't need a respot as it stands. 29 points is the difference. And it's actually going to be Higgins that he's going to play the first safety shot now. He's going to try and put the black into available zone there for him and try and get blue and yellow in between the cue ball and the red. So, decent effort there, but I think he's overplayed the cue ball. And the same red is going to be possible there from Shaun Murphy. Of course, needs the red now to make sure he's going to be away into one more frame there, Murphy. So, play that one with a little bit of topspin to make sure that he's going to be on the top side of the main ball colours. But he's not in. And where's the cue ball going to finish? And where's the red going to finish? It looks like he's going to finish in the worst possible position there from Shaun Murphy's point of view. Not sure Higgins can actually get through to this cut though, because the red has gone very close towards the green pocket, but ultimately just above the cue ball, which makes the cut tricky there for Higgins. And still going to be able to get this one in, you would think. In the end, he hasn't done it, and he's tried to go for a bit of smart shot there. You know, he's played it in a decent manner once again there. And Murphy leaves the referee to have a look at the position first to make sure he's going to be able to restore the cue ball and potentially any of the other colours back to their original position. Clearly indicating that Murphy's going to have to play the shot very thin on the edge now. And now, where's the cue ball going to finish? Is he going to finish with a chance there for Higgins to try and take this red in towards the yellow pocket? Yes, he will. Right now, it all comes down to just making that shot there from Higgins, because he doesn't need any particular colours there. He only needs one of them, then a 6-colour clearance. You know, majority of them are going to be on their spots there, apart from the pink, which is still going to be playable towards the right corner. So all comes down to making sure that this red is going to be in there from Higgins and get himself into a position on the next colour. The red is in, and the position on the next colour seems to be there as well. So going to have the angle on the black now for Higgins, which is going to get him up the table and probably set up with a perfect line there on towards the yellow. So looking like it is going to be another brilliant chance here to John Higgins to finally put this match to bed. You know, it has been quite a while there, 3 hours since it started exactly right now. So if you take the intermission and all the breaks in between the frames away, probably has been exactly 2 hours of table time. And majority of this table time, you have to say, has been led by John Higgins there, and he's got 6 shots there or so in between himself and winning this frame, which Shaun Murphy should have never given away there to him. As I say, he rolls the pink in, and at least he guarantees himself a respot chance. And in the end, it doesn't look like he's going to guarantee himself anything other than a defeat now. Would have been very much close now to John Higgins actually eliminating all of those 5 colours. The only minor problem that you could sort of refer to could have been the transition from the black onto the yellow, which already has been completed, and also the one from blue on towards the pink there, in towards the left corner. So having the black quite close to it could make the shot a bit tricky there for Higgins, but I still think he's going to be able to use all of his experience there to just prevail and get him over the line at that time. It's now 16 points is the gap now. Of course, it all becomes a bit relevant now because it basically is a clearance for John Higgins, or it is going to be a frame win for Shaun Murphy. And if you talk about pressure, it's not going to be any sort of pressure from the player of the class of 92 there, whether it is Ronnie O'Sullivan, whether it is John Higgins, or especially if it's going to be Mark Williams. One of these players is just going to try and take the chance there, and no matter if it's going to be the opening frame or it's going to be for the title. For now, it's a brilliant shot there off the blue to get himself lined up for the pink, and now roll the pink in towards the left corner and roll through the cue ball a touch there to make sure he's going to be perfectly lined up for the black, and a total clearance which didn't seem was possible there. He needed to be exactly 35 points at some stage if Murphy made the pink. In the end, it is going to be the clearance of 35 points, and it is going to be a frame and match win for John Higgins. Brilliant performance there for him. Shaun Murphy certainly will have a little bit of warm words there for him to say. And it is going to be the Scottish Derby against the Chinese Derby there. Wu Yize against Zhao Ziton on the one side of the draw. And on the other, we're going to have Stephen Maguire up against John Higgins there. Very much youth against experience. Is he going to make it into the final there? We're about to find out tomorrow, because it's going to be Wu Yize against Zhao Ziton on the first session tomorrow in the morning. Feel free to tune in for that one. Commiserations to Shaun Murphy, but once again, John Higgins has played absolutely incredible snooker so far, and if he keeps it like this, he certainly will be much appreciated favourite for the tournament to actually be crowned the winner of the International Championship here in 2025. Once again there, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you around for the semi-final stage tomorrow. Wu Yize against Zhao Ziton. Don't miss that. Take care.